Good evening. I'd like to call the regular council meeting of October 21st, 2025 to order. And Madam Clerk, could you conduct roll call, please?
Revimo.
Present.
Councillor Legree.
Present.
Councillor McWhorter.
Present.
Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor Zabalski.
Present.
Councillor Anderdick.
Present.
Revimo, we do have quorum.
Thank you. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And is there any, and could we have O Canada, please? Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Councillor McWhorter.
I have a conflict of interest with item E.1.2, community grants.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no others, we'll proceed. Nothing in C1, nothing in C2, nothing in C3, so C4, I'll start off. Craft Beer and Food Truck Festival was a huge success this year with over 1,300 attendees, 10 alcohol vendors, and our highest sales to date. A big heartfelt thank you to all our volunteers and staff who made this event possible, with a special thanks to our title sponsor, Zor Family Funeral Home, and our entertainment sponsor, Erica Edmansky with eXp Realty, for their generous support. Please save the date for next year, which is Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. We look forward to seeing everyone back next year. And next, I'll just fill you in a little bit more on a couple other things. Local Government Week. This week, municipalities across the province are celebrating Local Government Week, a time to recognize and thank municipal employees for their hard work and dedication in keeping our communities running smoothly. The Library Art Show, the Renfrew Public Library will host a free art show on October 22nd from 6 until 7:30 p.m. Please stop by to chat with the local artists, to browse through their works, and even learn some new techniques. Each artist brings something unique, and there will be 11 vendors showcasing their talent. And as you've probably heard from some of the advertising, Freaky Friday and Monster Mash. The BIA's Freaky Friday is happening this Friday from 5 until 7 p.m., featuring downtown trick-or-treating, a graveyard in Low Square, a haunted alleyway, the library's haunted house, and more. The town's Monster Mash dance will also take place at the Legion from 5 until 8 p.m., complete with a DJ, pumpkin and costume contest, snacks and crafts. You can also drop off your pumpkin at the Legion anytime during the day for competition. And finally, the Pinnacle of Business Awards, The Chamber of Commerce's Pinnacle of Business Awards will be held this Thursday at MyFM Center at 6:30. Nominees have been announced, and we look forward to an evening celebrating the outstanding businesses in our community. Visit the Chamber's website for details on the nominees and the event. And I should also note for council's information, I met with the Heritage Renfrew just to get an update on some of the things they're offering and to see if I could help them with grants and things like that. And I also met with Renfrew County ATV Association just to talk about if there was a possible relationship between them and the town of Renfrew. So they advance some ideas. I'm going to send them an email confirming what I thought the conversation was, and then I'll share it with council once we get a little more from them. So they wanted to talk about access to the Algonquin Trail, wayfinding signage to businesses, what areas of town we wanted to promote with them and their membership, and how we could do that. So I'll fill you in with a little more detail, but it'll be written within the next couple of weeks. Is there any other announcements? I forgot to say I'm doing this because I think the mayor's chair should be reporting back to the community on a regular basis, and I'm hoping to cement that in for the future. Councillor McWhorter.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of announcements from the seniors. Renfrew and area senior home support has a new monthly fundraiser which will be held at the Golden Age Activity Center. It's called Soups On. It's held every third Friday of the month. It's $10. You get a 16-ounce homemade soup with a bun, a bottle, and a treat. Also, please keep your eye out for the Green Envelope campaign for their fundraising. It should be in the mailboxes now. Down at the postal strike is semi-settled. You wish to donate, you can also stop by the office Monday to Friday between 8:30 and 3, make a donation, and they'll happily give you a tax receipt. The Golden Age Activity Center is also fundraising with food. You can pick up a delicious old-fashioned apple crisp for only $15. You can phone or drop in at the center anytime between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. These fundraising events are crucial to the success of the agency and the center, only partially supported by the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. These fundraising dollars ensure the continued support of our community's seniors with essential services like non-urgent medical transportation, Meals on Wheels, which is their frozen foods program, foot care, income tax clinics, and more. So please give generously. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more? Okay, seeing none. I'm sorry. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Reeve. I'm seeking council's permission to put forth a motion to suspend the rules of the procedures. I have some questions to ask. I don't know what you'd like me to do right now. I'd like to open the floor.
Okay. Okay.
We just don't have an opportunity to discuss timely questions, and in terms of accountability and transparency, I'd like to address a few things.
Okay, and I'm not trying to dissuade this. I just want to make sure. Is there the ability for answers to be provided right away, or will it look like we're trying to hide things because we can't answer right away? That's my worry.
Thank you, Reeve. I think it should be right away, and if not, I'm fine with answers being provided later.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Any advice? No. Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Oops, sorry. I won't entertain a motion.
Through you, Reeve. So if the desire is to put something on the table, you will need to suspend the rules of procedure.
Yep.
So you need a 2/3 vote. My recommendation is that council be aware as to the items that you are putting on. I know in the last time this was done, it was to put a certain number of items. However, I think in full transparency to council to know what they're discussing, I would list out at least the subjects of the motions that you're wishing to put forward.
Thank you. There's three of them. The first one is the identified 7.8% levy error in the 2025 municipal budget. The second one has to do with the cancellation of the postponement of the closed session with regard to a review. And the third one is just a status with regard to the strong mayor powers status, as the mayor is currently off. So those are the three questions I'll have with topics.
Okay, so I'm assuming that's your motion. Is there anybody willing to second it? Councillor McWhorter, any discussion? Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Reeve, if you want, I'll go
Well, I
deal with
think
each one 3 by 3 or what?
no, but I think we have to
Thank you.
vote on whether or not we're going to suspend and move forward. Council, do you wish to suspend or move forward with these? Asking just a comment on it, and then we vote, as far as I understand it. Okay, so Councillor Andrew Dick.
I have no issue.
Okay. Okay, I've just
I'm good.
assumed.
Yeah, no issue. Reid.
Okay, so with that, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and so, thank you, it's passed. Could I offer just a general comment? If we're going to do something like this, maybe we better work out a process. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Reeve, and I totally agree with you. The first one has to do with the identified 7.8% levy error for the 2025 municipal budget. Last Thursday, the 16th of, this is the background, of September 2025, the CAO sent out an email advising council that there was 3 major mistakes with the 2025 budget that will end up increasing the 2026 tax levy by 7.8%. My opinion, this is a major mistake. As we're all aware, within any organization, there's a chain of command with checks and balances. So my questions, I guess, whether it's directed towards CAO and they want to answer now or later, is this acceptable? And I know you have a background with regard to finances.
Apologies. We suspended the rules. Now we need a motion to hear the questions. My apologies. Good thing I got that whispered information. Yeah, so if you could make the motion, please, to place the 3 questions before council.
Do one at a time.
Okay.
Oh, okay, one at a time then. All right.
So the first motion will be towards dealing with the 7.8% levy error in the 2025 municipal budget.
Okay, a seconder, please. Councillor Andrew Dick. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, council.
What's the motion? What's the motion?
To hear about the 7.8%.
Thank you. To you, clerk, what I want to open the floor to have a conversation about these topics. And to the Reeves point, I think that's something we can look at later where we have that opportunity to have questions. And it's with regard to accountability and transparency. So just open the floor to have a conversation and with some questions.
Yeah, go ahead, please, and we'll be as careful as we can with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And one at a time?
Yes, please.
And reread the background to it?
Yes,
then?
it's just
Okay, thank
these,
you.
it's, yes, the 7.8 one we're working on, and then we'll go
Yes.
to motions on each one of the individual ones.
Okay, I'll reiterate the background. Last Thursday, the 16th of September 2025, the CAO sent out an email advising council that there were 3 major mistakes with the 2025 budget that will end up increasing the 2026 tax levy by 7.8%. As we're all well aware, within organizations, there's a chain of command with checks and balances. And my question, I guess I'm directing towards the CAO or anyone else that wants to answer it, is this acceptable with regard to the issue? I'd like to know how it happened, who was responsible for this, and how do we ensure this doesn't happen again, and especially when we're dealing with the 2026 budget right now, how do we make sure we capture if there are any issues? So those are the questions I have with regard to that.
Okay, so I'll start first. I became aware of it, I think, just about the same time as everybody got their packages, and agreed with the CAO that that was one of the first things, and the treasurer, one of the first things that we did. We'd tell council. So that's when I became aware of it, and I'm not sure, I don't think there was much lead time beyond that, but let's see, I'll go forward.
So through you, Reeve, to council, during the process of preparing the 2026 budget, there were these 3 items, and for the public's information, they were included in the CAO's comment section of the report on the budget agenda from yesterday. The first one was the OPP budget, was known in 2025 to have cost $2.2 million approximately, with a one-time relief of $462, which council had authorized $317 to go into a reserve. So the net amount that should have been in the budget should have been just less than $2.1 million. However, when we were preparing the budget and pulling all the numbers together, it was identified, as I was going through trying to identify why the percentage was starting at 13%, that the actual amount showing in 2025's budget for OPP was actually about 1.7 million. So there was a difference there. So not only do we have to make up for some of the increase that was expected because of the one-time relief that we received in 2025, but we also had to make up for an additional 342,000 approximately of the OPP amount. I'm not exactly sure how that one specifically happened, but the total of that is about 550,000 in total between the one more year of increase for the one-time relief that we won't be receiving, and the amount in the budget that didn't reflect the full amount, which is about a 4.41%. The second item was the Sunshine Coach. So every year we do receive gas tax funds from the province. So this is not the federal gas tax. This is the provincial gas tax, which is specific to transit operations only. The town does act basically as a banker on behalf of the several communities that are in partnership for Sunshine Coach. We receive the funds from the province for the gas tax, and then they are to be transferred over to the agency providing the transit services. In this case, normally what would happen is we would see in the budget the revenue come in from the province. We would transfer it to the reserve. If we did not make the payment to Sunshine Coach, then it would have to stay in the reserve because it would not be allowed to be spent on general operations. It can only be spent on transit. So then typically we would have a pulling out from the reserve and then showing the reflection of the payment to Sunshine Coach. Unfortunately, 3 of the 4 sides of that entry were included, and the 4th side was not, which would be approximately a 250,000 payment out. The third item that was identified and shared with council on Thursday, was the revenue estimate for the arena floor revenues. With the switch in the budget accounting software last year and the merging of the accounts, the 175,000 that is typically budgeted for those revenues for arena floor rentals had been reflected both in the arena floor rental revenue account as well as in the tenant revenue line item for the facilities, for the recreation facilities. And so in essence, that duplicated 175,000 of revenue that we wouldn't actually be seeing. So the sum of those 3 items was approximately 975,000 or 7.8%. So that is the information that council has been referencing. This information was shared in the CAO's comment to the budget report in the agenda for yesterday's budget committee meeting. I'm not sure exactly how these errors specifically came to be, except for the last one. The last one I do know was because of the budget accounting software adjustment, that the accounts, there was confusion between which accounts were being merged and which ones weren't, and so it ended up being put in 2 different spots. The other 2, I'm not sure exactly how it came to be. I can say that this year, all of the directors have been going through their departments throughout most of the summer, trying to identify which accounts in the accounting software change and the budget software change need to be researched a little more, identified as to what should or shouldn't be in them, and we've made several adjustments in the package that was provided to council, the budget committee, for the budget committee meetings. I am pretty confident that all of the large errors from an accounting software adjustment have now been captured and identified. In regards to specifically how any of these specifically came to be, that I cannot answer at this time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Reeve. Just a follow-up. I guess my main concern is how do we ensure this doesn't happen again for the 2026 budget? But I think you answered that as best you could in your response. Is there anything else we can do differently?
Sorry, through you, Reeve. The best way to try to identify these items is time between when the budget changes are happening and when they go to come forward for a final review. So in this case, we do have that time this year, as the Budget Committee has until the 17th of November. After that, it's in the Strong Mayor's hands. Unfortunately, the Strong Mayor is off on leave, but it is fortunate on the behalf staff then have that little bit of extra time to be able to review through and make sure all of the changes requested by the Budget Committee have been properly reflected, and we can look at having it so that it's reviewed by both the Deputy Treasurer, the Treasurer, and myself in a higher detail than what maybe the Treasurer and Deputy Treasurer would be looking at, just to make sure that we've identified some of these types of matters that could happen. That's really all I can say as maybe how to prevent it going forward. We do have that gift of time this year with the current leave of the mayor.
If I might add, too, we also have fresh eyes in terms of the systems in place, and then we have a new treasurer who may not have the familiarity with some of the older programs, and for whatever reason, didn't catch some of those errors. So fresh eyes, fresh questions is one thing that I think we can count on this time. Councillor McDonald, are you complete with that? Councillor Legree, please.
Through you, Reeve. I just wanted some clarification, and I apologize if I missed it, but I'm looking at the timeline between, was this just identified now when we're doing the budget, or is this identified a few months ago and council is just notified now? I just want to confirm that, please.
So through you, Reeve, these specific items were identified on Thursday afternoon when I was, I always just before the meetings try to make sure I understand where the bulk of the percentage increases are coming from, and when I was looking through, I was trying to pull out what line items they were, and that's when it triggered to me that I feel like something's not right in these three line items, and so as soon as I identified, I shared it with the Reeve, as well as sending the email out to all of council.
Thank you.
Yes, and if I might add again, one of the things that we talked about very quickly that day was making sure that when it comes to the actual presentation for the public budget, that we were going to make a note of it in bold so that we readily informed everybody. So at the time, Thursday afternoon, it sounded like a good idea. So thank you. Yes, sir. Oh, anybody else? Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Reeve. So just a quick question. We're starting off the 2026 budget at 7.8% regardless. This is before anything else. This is because of the three major mistakes that happened in 2025. 7.8% is our starting point.
That would be correct.
Okay. Thank you, Reeve.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Cybulski, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. To say, I'm not sure how to quite put it, but at what point do errors and omissions stop becoming the taxpayer's responsibility? This is where I'm struggling with this. This is an item, and I've heard it, and I understand the situation, and it's unfortunate, but yet again, it's another item that the taxpayers just have to pay the brunt for. Is there any mechanisms in place as we work through the budget? I know that the staff have done a great job. Once we look at all the items, I do believe the budget increase is quite minimal this year. I believe the effort was put in to do a good job, but 7.9% is more than what we increased the budget. So is there something that could be done so that it's not on the taxpayers? I'm disappointed that, again, we're asking the taxpayers to take up the brunt of some errors and omissions. So more of a statement. Thank you.
Madam CEO, if you wish.
So through you, Reeve, as was mentioned for maybe those who are watching publicly who were not watching yesterday's budget meeting, the Treasurer did reference that we do have a tax levy stabilization reserve that we could look at. Those would be, that's the purpose of those type of reserves, where you have these one-time major influx or change to a budget to try to smooth it out over several years. So those are things that will be discussed in the next couple of budget committee meetings as to what can or cannot be accomplished and maybe try to offset part of that 7.8%. However, it is something that unless we find another revenue source that's kind of a permanent revenue source, it eventually would need to come out of tax. But there are options for spreading it over a period of time, which would be discussed at future budget committee meetings.
Councillor McWhirter?
Through you, Chair. So last budget we did, there was a lot to talk about all the changes made to the GL accounts, the numbers, amalgamating a bunch of them. There was an issue with inputting into the new software, so much so that it was delayed, and I think they actually used the old process from previous. Has all that been worked out? Is this part of that? And has that now been all rectified? And because now I'm wondering if we've chosen the right software. We didn't pick it, but are we going down the wrong road with this software? Or is there issues? Because we certainly won't want to see this every year. So, can you help me out with that?
So,
Madam CEO?
Through you, Reeve, in regards to the software transition, I believe this kind of stems from that, but we are through the worst of it now. This year was done pretty much entirely under the new account numbering system, which is, I think, where once I was able to kind of see it all together, that there was these errors that needed to be identified. Going forward, the staff and the departments, as I said, over the summer have been spending some time sitting with the deputy treasurer, and then since September with the treasurer in regards to understanding their accounts better and which ones merged and to what account, and understanding how they flow. That process is giving them a better idea, maybe providing some direction as to certain ones that maybe were grouped that shouldn't have been grouped, as was mentioned yesterday in the committee meeting. Landfill equipment, as an example, the maintenance and repairs and fuel for those ones were grouped in with the public works vehicles, but really we have to report to the province landfill operations separate than public works operations, so those were pulled back out. Most of those changes should be captured now. It should be minor items. The software in and of itself is not a terrible software. It's just more of the process of us getting used to it and familiar. And unfortunately, last year, the transition was trying to happen while we were preparing a budget, which is not necessarily an ideal time. Normally, you want to do it a couple of months and train everybody before you start having to use it for that budget season.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve. Just to a final comment. I've expressed my frustration with the communication flow before, but this is exactly what I'm looking for in terms of what was done last Thursday, giving us the information so that we have it in a timely manner. So I thank you for providing that to us.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Reeve. And just a comment. I don't think Councillor Sobalski's question was answered. And I just wanted to touch on that. 3 years ago, we all ran on accountability. There was lots of accountability thrown out amongst all of us. And here's just another example of, and I'm going to use the CEO's words, 3 major mistakes that happened. Major mistakes. And Councillor Sobalski asked a question: when are we going to hold people accountable for major mistakes? No one's ever held accountable except the taxpayers of this town. They're the ones that are held accountable because they're the ones that have to pay this 7.8%. And it's frustrating. So again, it's just a comment. I'm not blaming anybody in this room about anything. I'm saying no one is being held accountable for this. That's just, you're more than welcome to comment on that, my comment, Reeve, but I'm just making a statement here.
The struggle is who should be held accountable, because I can't remember who made the motion, who seconded, but we all voted on the budget. So in theory, we should have caught the mistakes. In theory, I'm not going to suggest that we should have. The others, thing is that there have been people who've left the organization who were involved very actively and heavily in the budget. How much responsibility should be accrued by them, I'm not sure. I would think most of it to a degree, because ultimately some people put the budget together on the fly and have left the organization, and I don't know how how much other work was done internally with that person. So it's hard to decide who should directly be held accountable or how much of it should be spread around. I'm saying that as best I can. But I apologize for being somewhat vague. Okay, thanks. Okay. Sir McDonald, anything further on this? We'll move to your next one. You have a motion for a second item?
Thank you, and I don't know how again, to open the floor, I don't know how the clerk wants to frame it, but to provide an opportunity for the status update regarding the strong mayor powers.
You have a seconder? Councillor Andrew Dick. And discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Reeve. Just a bit of a background as we get into the conversation. Regarding the strong mayor's power, Mayor Sidney is off till mid-December, from what I understand. And I'm just looking for a status update with regard to the strong mayor powers. Does it stay with him, or is it placed on the table while he's gone? So I'm just looking for an update with regard to that. Or does it come to council?
Okay. Well, as just a general overview of the legislation talks about the powers. I believe there are 8 portions of them. One grouping of 4 talks about the organization, and the other grouping of 4 talks about what's loosely described as housing priorities. And so the mayor has not delegated any of those to anyone. He could have delegated some of them on his way out the door to council, and some of them to the CAO, and he declined to do so. And there's no mechanism forcing him to do that. It's a personal choice. So we have a variety of legal opinions that basically confirm all of that, which, as members are aware, we shared in closed, but we're not able to share with the public. But in general, that's the comments. And now that the clerk's had a chance to refresh her memory, perhaps she'll add something.
Through your email, I would call for the vote first.
Oh, I didn't do that. No, I did. I said thank you.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. Okay, sorry. Okay, so just again, further to Revimo's points, there are certain powers identified in legislation that can be delegated. They cannot be delegated to one person. They can be delegated only to either members of council or the CAO. They say they can't be delegated to one person on council. Sorry, I should say that. But they can be delegated to council and or the chief administrative officers. That's with only certain powers in general. Again, council did receive information and a legal opinion in closed, and I would state that other than what is listed on the Municipal Act as public information, any further questions can be directed to me in a closed manner.
Thank you. Any further questions? And I think my assumption is your intent is just to let the public know that we've asked questions about it, and generally we've received questions that do not allow us to remove the power from the mayor, nor is he prevented from exercising them if he feels the need to when he's gone. I think that's kind of the message you wanted out to the public. Thank you, sir. Okay, next we have a third motion.
Thank you, and again, I'll let the clerk formalize it. It has to do with the non-implementation of Councillor Gree's duly approved motion to hold a closed session at this meeting for the purpose of discussing the performance review of the CAO. And that's what I'd like to discuss next, and just open the floor with regard to questions.
Okay, do you have a seconder, please? Councillor Legree. Discussion? All those in, discussion, sorry? All in favor? Okay. Thank you. And so do you want a general answer? Because I'm the villain here.
Well, go ahead and answer then. That was one of the questions, is where was the decision made?
Okay, so the two reasons for the decision to not ignore it, but to delay it. One was that the CAO was approached by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. They wanted to come and talk to council about relationships between councillors and staff, and asked that until that occurred, we not no, just wait till that occurred before we did anything. And then secondly, I have a legal opinion that I'm in the process of going through it so that I can share it with you as part of the review. In short, the legal opinion, without going into any detail, says that the review remains with the mayor. And so I'm not disputing that, but I think there's a workaround, which I'm in the process of putting together for council. So we have the two things that collided at the time. I was intending to tell council that tonight verbally under G. That's the only thing I could think to fit it into items for consideration, because we're still waiting. The ministry wanted to meet with us early next month. However, I'm aware two members of council are in and out during next month, the early part of next month, I believe. And so we're trying to find an alternate date. Again, hopefully we would have had that today, but we don't have it today. So that's the mechanism of how we came to delaying it. And again, I was going to bring that up tonight to inform council.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Reeve, for the explanation. And I'm just wondering with regard to the procedural bylaw, because I went through and I don't think we have a component that deals with postponing a certain, so how do we deal with that, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because...
I was hoping, yes, sorry.
Yeah, and because it was unanimous decision with the mayor here at the time that we would go ahead with that. So go ahead with that.
So I was hoping once I brought it up under consideration, then we'd sort of work our way through a process, to be quite frank with you. In terms of, oh, I'm sorry, go on.
I would say in this case, the procedural bylaw does speak to the fact that the closed meeting was canceled, and it was canceled outside of 48 hours. So it was within our procedural right to do so.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
We can discuss it later, but I was under the impression that's to cancel a full meeting from reading it, not just a component of an agenda, of a regular scheduled agenda. But we can have that discussion later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Legree?
Through you, Reeve Emo. Just a comment. I guess I'm very frustrated with this. This started months ago for me, way back when I emailed, and we went through this already with the mayor with no response. Then I put a motion forward, and nobody reaches out to me. It just gets canceled off my calendar. Still, we had to have a councillor bring it up today to actually get some feedback from it. The CAO position is the most important in the organization, as far as I'm concerned. And everything, as far as I'm concerned, has been done already anyway, with zero impact from anything from us, information from any of the councillors, and that's sad actually for me. So I don't even know what to say. I'll just leave it at that.
So we have a legal opinion, which I said I'm sharing with you as soon as I get through it. It's 8 pages, I believe. I read it twice. I'm in the process of shading what I think is relevant for you as a starting point. In essence, it says the mayor has the ultimate authority under the Strong Mayor Act to review the CAO's performance, offer comment on it, and it is silent on, I believe it's silent on it, and I think the lawyer does too. It's silent on our ability to impact it. So I'm trying to do a workaround. Thank you. Yes, sir?
Through you, Reeve Emo. So I get that point. It's up. I get that. But the point is that nobody wanted to hear what we even had to say. We did. the mayor that doesn't have to take what we say, doesn't have to do what we have to say, but at the end of the day, nobody seemed to care what we even said, the rest of us sitting here. And that's how I look at it. And I'm not saying anything bad or good or anything but CAO, but I think in any organization with any CAO, the council should have a say, should be able to tell the head of council what their thoughts are with the most important position in the municipality. But yet here we sit months later, multiple emails from me and other councillors with zero response and still no answer. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Okay, and I am hopeful I can cement in a process that'll go forward. Thank you. Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Reeve Emo. I have 3, maybe 4 questions. So the first question, Reeve, is Clerk Garrett said, and I quote, "within our right." I'm just curious, Reeve Emo, who is our?
Well, I would guess, the clerk often represents the interests of the corporation in scheduling meetings and providing correspondence and direction. So I think that's just a term that means the larger body outside of council. Because
Okay.
council does have separate rights and responsibilities from the corporation, because the corporation, I think, is it considered a person? I think it is, but anyway. Okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you on
That's
that.
my best answer.
No, that's fine. I appreciate it. And the clerk can call point of order on this, because I don't know if this is part of the topic, but I'm going to ask it, and we can stop. The Municipal Affairs, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, did they approach our corporation, or did we approach them?
They approached the CAO at a meeting in Cornwall when she was there undertaking some education, and then I was approached by phone call shortly after.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And then the other, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is legal opinion is thrown out quite a bit when it comes to strong mayor. And I just, my own statement, it's an opinion. Doesn't mean it's right. Even though it's coming from a lawyer, it's an opinion. It's not law, it's an opinion. And something we need to take into consideration when it comes to an opinion, the corporation is paying that lawyer to give an opinion. So therefore, when working with lawyers, when you're paying them, they're going to give their opinion to steer it towards what you want. That's how lawyers work, right? So if the corporation hires a lawyer and wants an opinion on a strong mayor power, that lawyer is going to give the corporation, not the Renfrew Corp, I'm just saying the corporation, the opinion they want to hear. So just say council pools their money together and hires a lawyer and says, hey, we want your opinion on the strong mayor powers. This is the way we think it should be. That lawyer is going to agree with us because we're paying them for their opinion. And I think we have to be really careful here as a group, as a collective, when we throw out legal opinion. Because a lot of the times it's coming out, Reeve, and I feel it's the law. And that's the way it should be. But it's just an opinion. It's not the law. So I wanted to make that statement because over the last couple of weeks, that's been thrown out at us a lot. Again, it's just an opinion.
Okay, and and as I've said, I am trusting when I pass this one out for you. I know you'll keep it. All of you will keep it confidential because it's correspondence between a lawyer and client, and we're the client collectively. And in fairness to the lawyers in this instance, which is a stretch for me, I'm not normally fair with them, is that the strong mayor powers is so new that we're using John Mascarin, who's made presentations all over Ontario, because he's the only one that, to my knowledge at this point, who's really dug in deep. And some of the things you'll see in some of his opinions is this is still being fleshed out at the ministry, but this is what I think the minister believed with the bill. So you're right, it's an opinion, and it's based on a lot of instances just what was in the legislation, and the regulations aren't backing it up yet. So you're right, it's an opinion. Please.
So thank you, Revimo, for that. And I just want to speak on the fact that council did not have a chance to review the CAO's performance. I think Councillor Gurry said it perfect. We're not saying it was bad. We're not saying it was average. We're not saying it was good. We're not saying anything because we weren't allowed to say anything, and that's frustrating. You know what I mean? Because I felt that we should have had the chance, and the mayor took that away from us. So I just want to make that comment that I'm also disappointed too. Thank you.
Councillor McWhorter.
I just have one simple question. The ministry that wishes to speak to us, are they doing that with every council, or is this just for us? Like, I understand that somebody said they reached out to us, so I'm guessing they're going to every council with something? Or?
You're guessing wrong. Sorry. You're guessing wrong, sorry. All ministries have what used to be known as a clipping service, where they rake through the news on municipal affairs for any number of interest rate, and I guess our name came up. And they may have then, I'm guessing, watched YouTube and then decided they should call us.
Follow. So they initiated this? It wasn't us that...
No, they initiated it. CEO, please.
So through you, Reeve, I was at the CAO and Treasurers Forum that the ministry holds every fall. It was held, I believe that was October 3rd during my vacation, but I attended the meeting anyways to get the information that they share, because sometimes they share some information that we don't get any other way. When I was there, the ministry reps from MMAH, which is the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, had pulled me aside and said that they wanted to come and do a presentation to council, and when I got back to the office, they wanted me to reach out with some available times. So when I did return after my vacation, I made it aware at the time to the Reeve and I believe the mayor, because that would have been before he had submitted his notice, that they were requesting this and that I was going to propose to them some dates throughout October and November to see which ones they would be interested in.
And one other thing, I agree with my fellow councillors about this is just another incident with strong mayor powers that, again, nothing to CAO, but all the council did hire the CAO. I think it would have been prudent that all of council got to at least sit in on the review. Again, this is just another use of strong mayor powers that I don't agree with. I don't think they were really meant for all this. And I am sure the ministry coming to see us are very busy going to see other communities, because I'm sure they're all having the same problems we are. All you have to do is look in the news. It's all over. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I should add is that one of the first meetings I had with the CAO right after the mayor informed us he was leaving, we talked about the process, and she agreed that I would forward out a forum to council because she wanted to hear comments from council and suggestions, and together we would formulate a new goals and objectives, because the goals and objectives that she received initially were essentially produced by her without much guidance from council at the time. I don't know how that occurred, but it seemingly slipped through. And so we talked about using council's input, and then also some of the ones that she had noted in her time with the organization, also consistent with the road to 2035 and consistent with some of the other findings and things that have occurred in the last 6 to 8 months. So to her credit, she recognizes the flaw in the system and has agreed to sit down with me to try and fix it going forward, so that council does have a role despite the strong mayor power. Again, that would be with the agreement of the mayor when he returns for next year. And I think any reasonable person would see that it's necessary, and I find the mayor to be very reasonable. It's necessary to have a structure that everybody can can contribute to. So we are trying to put together a structure that will, again, cement the process into the system going forward, which, despite the limitations of the strong mayor power, or the strong mayor powers that limits council's powers, that we might be able to find a workaround on it. So that was the basis for one of the bases for the legal opinion, I'm sorry, was to try and see if there was a way around it. There isn't, but there is. So we think we have something coming to you that'll work. This is all in flux because just putting all the pieces together in the limited time we have, we've had, I guess, 5 days we've worked on it, or 6 days or something. So, but you will have something that should satisfy you a little bit this year and satisfy you going forward. Okay, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Just a final statement. Reeve, I think the problem is there were promises made or there was direction given initially, and that seemed to fall to the wayside. And I'm done with my motions, but I like what you said earlier on. Perhaps we can have, in terms of the agenda, maybe look at incorporating something in so that there can be timely questions asked as we move forward, as opposed to having to open the floor for motions. So I like what you said earlier with regard to that. So thank you.
Thank you. I agree. I think tonight's an example of, the kind of civil discussion we can have without tossing around blames and accusation. And and you and I had a conversation the other day about how, I guess I'm going to betray a confidence about closed, but how in closed we all sit back in our chairs, call each other by our first name, and bat around solutions until we find a solution. And the fact that we both felt so comfortable with that and wished we could bring that into this setting, when there's a common problem or a problem that shows up, that really kind of needs a political answer, or the very minimum an airing before you get to an answer. So again, when we take a review of the procedural bylaw, we'll have to see if there's a mechanism we can make the collegiality and the working environment that we have most of the time off camera, bring it onto camera. Okay, thank you. So I'm just, I've sort of lost where I am on the agenda. So I think we're going to move to E1, which would be the community and recreation services. Pardon me?
You need a motion to go into
Oh, yes, I do.
first.
I'm sorry. That Renfrew Town Council convene as committee of the whole to consider reports for recommendation to council. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Andrew Dick. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And we'll move to E11, which is that committee of the whole received the comprehensive overview of business arrangement between the town of Renfrew and the Bone Share Algonquin First Nations. Report as information. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Legree. And we'll move to Director Latondres, please.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. So Council Resolution 250628 directed staff to provide an overview of the business arrangement with the Bone Share Algonquin First Nations, including all the leased properties at the MyFM Centre, historical arrangement, leasing information, and the current status of occupancy. So just a bit of background. Town and Baffin began working together 2019, jointly applying for a federal provincial infrastructure grant, which helped fund the design at the expanded Mattaway or MyFM Centre. The agreement is part of Renfrew's broader commitment to supporting Indigenous communities and that the town of Renfrew sits on traditional Algonquin land. So this report summarizes there is 2 lease agreements in effect with the Bone Share Algonquins. The first is the Medicine Wheel Partnership, a 25-year agreement to take care of the medicine wheel at the MyFM Centre. So the report lays out the town's responsibility, Baffin's responsibilities, and then the shared responsibilities of that agreement. The next section of the report, and at the end I'm happy to answer any questions I can. I was not involved in creating the leases, but I will get the information that I can get. The second lease agreement was to authorize a lease, a tenant space at the MyFM Center. So it was added to an original lease only because Baffin was not included in that original lease. The report outlines the lease details, including the size, the term, rent, and includes other lease information. The actual leases are also attached to the report for viewing. So the current situation, while most of the construction is complete, the sound panels have taken the longest. This was the acoustic panels for the medicine wheel. So just some of the details in that. In late 2024, a tender was issued for the installation of acoustic panels, which was the last portion of that project to be done. The submission deadline was January 7th, 2025, but no submissions were received. So after that, town staff reached out to 3 companies, got a quote, finally awarded the job to the Piche Group in March 2025. At that time, we were told there was a very long lead time in order to get the materials. So we were aware going in that it was going to take a while. June 2nd, they did a 3D scan was done of the medicine wheel room, and at that time they discovered that the 4 sprinkler heads didn't fit with where the panels were going to go. So there was a bunch of discussion happened. The decision was made to move those sprinkler heads in order to work with the panels. This project is finally nearing completion, and I believe within the first or second week of November, that will be done. And then I believe all that's left is the decals to go up within the room. So Mr. Collins and I met with Chief Soar in September to talk about what was happening. And he stressed how important the partnership is between the town and Baffin, and that he wants to see it continue. He did mention that due to the amount of time it has taken to complete the medicine wheel, there have been lost opportunities for him, including, or for the group, including a potential sublease opportunity. And this has slowed everything down for him. There are organizations that have approached them that want to use the medicine wheel, that want to do teaching, and are looking to work with Baffin, but again, they're waiting for that medicine wheel to be complete. The lease itself does include a turnkey build-out commitment, which means that the town was to fully prepare the space for Baffin to move in. And it also says the town will pay for and complete all the work needed to finish the inside of the building and set it up to meet Baffin's needs, and that the space will be ready for Baffin to use when they take possession. And unfortunately, this didn't happen. We're close, but not quite there. So that is the information I was able to locate, and I'm happy to take any information.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Reeve. So are there, did I hear correctly near the end, are there still some outstanding financial issues or costs associated with it? Are there still some outstanding financial costs associated with finishing up the medicine wheel?
Thank you, through you. So everything is done. Everything has been, it's all been approved. Nothing went over budget. It was all in the original estimates, the original plans. It's just that it took a long time to find someone to do the work.
Supplementary?
Thank you, Reeve. No, just a comment.
Okay.
I'm glad, I'm happy that we've got this report now. To me, it's a good baseline moving forward, because when we first come on here, I think there was a bunch of different compartmentalized pieces of information, and I'm glad we've brought it all together for one baseline. Thank you.
Councillor Cebulski?
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. The mechanical side of me is coming out, and also sitting on the working group for the years that I feel that we sat there, and this has been a talking subject. So if it could be clarified, maybe not in fully today, but with respect to the sprinkler heads, understanding the shape of the building, this isn't an easy item to relocate, and also understanding how sprinkler heads work and distribution of water to protect the building and people inside in a case. But for a 3D scan to be done to provide acoustic patterns for these panels we put up and then need to move sprinkler heads. Having a hard time with this, understanding. So there had to have been an extra cost. Can someone just give me a little bit, or if this could be sent to me later? It's this is just me wanting to know the ins and outs, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yeah, thank you, and through you, Reeve. So I believe what ended up happening was when they got the plans to look at the sprinkler heads, they could just kind of tell that they weren't in the right spot, so they wanted to double check with the 3D scan, and then that was when they realized that they weren't going to line up. They weren't exactly where they were supposed to be as per the plans, so they realized they weren't going to line up with the panels to keep everything symmetrical in the room. So then that's when they had to adjust them. I don't have an exact number on the additional cost, but I don't believe that it was too much. We were able to bring back the company that installed them originally, so I don't think I can get that number for you.
Thank you. Councillor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Director Latondra, sorry.
Sorry, I just did want to add that the heads themselves only had to be, and Mr. Collins can correct me, I think it was like not even half an inch. It was basically for aesthetic reasons more than anything else to fit in with where the panels were going to fall. But we can definitely share that with council if they'd like that information.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? None, it's carried. Thank you, Council. And E.1.2, that Committee of the Whole received the grants to community partners. Committee funding decisions report as information, noting that Councillor McWhorter has declared a conflict on this. Mover, please. Councillor Legree, second by Councillor McDonald, and Director Latondras, please.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. So as authorized under the delegated authority in the grants to community partners policy and using the budgeted amount, the amount budgeted by council for 2025, the committee met and the following financial and in-kind support was provided. So there is a list. So the Renfrew Rotary Club homes, Heritage Renfrew, Community Living, Renfrew County South, Renfrew and Area Seniors Home Support, all received financial support from the town. In the amount of $8,600, and then the in-kind support we're in this year were mainly facility rental waivers, and those were provided to Renfrew County District School Board, Renfrew and District Fur Council, the Templar Knights Motorcycle Club, and the Renfrew Lions Club. These waivers support community programming, fundraising initiative, and public events that align with the municipality's strategic priorities and community engagement goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from members of council? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? None is carried. Thank you, council. And next, the recommended motion is that Committee of the Whole recommends that Renfrew Town Council authorize staff to proceed with the award of the replacement of the garage roof at the municipal garage to We Got It Covered Roofing and Renovations in the amount of $157,000 excluding HST. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Cebulski, second by Councillor Legree, and Coordinator Collins, please.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. So it was identified in our 2025 capital budget to replace the roof at the municipal garage and was approved through budget for 2025. This project includes the removal and replacement of the entire roof. This project was posted to tender on September 11th and closed on October 2nd, and a mandatory site visit took place on September 23rd. 3 bids were received, including AGC and Associates at $181,180. We Got It Covered Roofing at $157,000, and 10480,797 Canada at a price of $235,000. So the options available to the town are proceed with award to We Got It Covered Roofing and Renovations, and if the project is awarded to We Got It Covered Roofing, construction can commence and be completed before the end of the year. And We Got It Covered Roofing has good experience with the town of Renfrew and has provided a good level of service on past projects, including the museum and the fire hall. And the other option would be to not award at this time.
Thank you. Comments, questions, concerns, members of council? Councillor Cebulski, please.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. Quick question in relation to our budgeted line item. Coordinator, do you remember what our budgeted line item was, what we carried for this project?
Yes, through you, Reeve. So we did have a bulk budget come through for a few different capital projects at the garage of $380,000, I believe. And the budget for the roof was either $170,000 or $180,000.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's the only question I have at this time.
Seeing no more questions, all those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you, council. And we'll move to E.2.1. That Committee of the Whole receives the Waste Management Operations Review report as information. Mover, please. Councillor McWhirter, second Councillor McDonald, and we'll move to Manager Springer, please.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. So at the April 22nd, 2025 regular meeting of Council, Council passed Resolution 250470, directing staff to prepare a comprehensive report of the current operations of the landfill site, including operating costs, financial projections, any notable issues, and further that we be directed to investigate the feasibility of alternative service delivery for waste management. This report is being prepared in response to that resolution. However, as a result of the strong mayor powers, items which affect the corporate structure were provided solely to the mayor for review. I will note that the financial figures have been updated through the staff draft budget preparation and presented in this. Those presented in this report reflect the current estimates and operational costs. So a bit about our current operational layout. The landfill has been in operation since 1955, and it is a permanent waste disposal site, not a transfer station. It has always been owned by the town, but it has been operated by a contractor in the past, recently as of 2018, and the town took over operations in January of 2019. Since 2019, the landfill has completed an average of 13,000 regular transactions a year. It is trending upwards with a 37% increase since 2019. We're on track this year to have about 15,000 regular transactions. The landfill has reported to have operational struggles both during contracted and in-house operations. However, the management team, with the support of council, has begun to address these issues. In January of this year, the landfill adjusted its hours to include public disposal on Fridays and increased the staff hours to 40 hours a week in line with industry standards. Additionally, as part of the 2025 approved budget, the landfill is to add a 0.5 full-time equivalent as a landfill operator 2, which is a equipment operator for the summertime to complement our staffing, and overall it will not exceed 2.6 full-time equivalents. These changes were implemented to provide additional resources to address these operational challenges. In terms of operating costs and revenues, the average cost to operate the landfill since the town took over operations in 2019 is $573,506. The average revenue collected in that same time period is $172,000 a year. So the net operating costs, tipping fee revenue versus expenditures, averages annually since 2019 to be $47,729. We do expect that operating costs will increase over the next few years to reflect the staffing increase. However, tipping fee revenue would also be expected to increase as the town grows. We do currently have our landfill consultants undertaking a financial liability estimate, which will inform the future landfill closure reserve contributions. And again, it is expected that these contributions will be increased due to inflation in order to replenish the reserve, which has been proposed to fund future capital work in the short term. So a summary of the expenditures and revenues since 2019 is provided as Appendix A. A little bit more on our operational issues. In 2022, a steep waste slope was identified on the western corner of the site. The area is composed of uncompacted and exposed waste at a slope that exceeds the approved limits and is not safe to operate on. The MECP issued a non-compliance to the area in 2023, which remains outstanding. However, staff have submitted a revised waste mound contour to the MECP, which is required to be approved before any significant work can occur on the slope. This work is tentatively scheduled for 2026, pending approval from the MECP. Additionally, in 2023, the MECP identified issues with the active filling area, specifically the lack of daily cover material, and operational staff have been slowly addressing this item with considerable improvements since the 2023 inspection. In terms of staffing, the last couple of years, the landfill has experienced a high staff turnover rate. During vacancy periods, staff from other departments were utilized with considerable overtime work required. Vacation, sick leave, lunch breaks are difficult to manage with the limited staff at the landfill. And during busy periods, both staff are required in the scale house with no staff operating equipment, supervising customers, or supervising the landfilling at the active phase. A regular staff team of 2 has been determined to be inadequate to support compliant operations and mitigate safety concerns for our staff and users, and results in poor waste sorting and diversion practices as they're not being supervised. So as mentioned, we're adding a 0.5 full-time equivalent, which was approved in the 2025 budget to help minimize these impacts. On the facility side, the scale is at the end of its usable life. The sides and underside of the scale are visibly deteriorating with large trucks of metal that are rusting off. The scale is undersized, the scale house is undersized, resulting in issues with storage, functionality for staff to take breaks, prepare food, or use the bathroom. The scale house lacks appropriate safety equipment such as an eye wash and chemical or safety shower. Additionally, we've noted low levels of black mold in the insulation of the equipment garage. Black mold can cause health issues, especially if disturbed. Without remediation, the issue will be exacerbated and the risk increased. I had mentioned considerable capital investment is expected over the next 10 years to improve operations and address the compliance issues. And a summary of the capital work expected over the next 10 years is provided as Appendix B. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
Thank you. And Councillor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Reeve. Through you to the manager. Compared to other landfills, where do we fall regarding pricing? And where I'm going with that, is it an option to look at cost recovery with regard to our approach?
Thank you, through you, Reeve. So currently we sit at $100 a ton, which is about middle of the road in terms of landfills. Whitewater, I think they're about 105 and looking to increase to 107 next year. Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Center in Pembroke is 110. McNabb is 95. And then many other landfills like Horton and Arm Prior don't have scales, so they don't use the same pricing model. In terms of our minimum charge, it's $25, and I believe that is on the higher end, with other landfills being in the $15 to $20 range. So yes, it is possible. I do know the fees and charges bylaw has already been reviewed and is going to be presented anytime now. So maybe the treasurer can discuss if that is possible to change that at this time.
We'll go with the treasurer. Treasurer, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, the fees and charges are coming for review the next council meeting, October 28th. So you'll see that there. So we haven't passed it yet for January 1st, 2026. And then that could be reflected in budget committee discussions as well, if that was a decision to be looked at. Just as a side note, other municipalities sometimes put a waste levy fee specifically on their tax bills that is a charge per household. So it takes makes it full cost recovery to per households. So if you knew the price of your waste management for the year, and you have the number of households from MPAC or whichever source you use, or your building department, you divide that out, and then that calculates the waste levy fee on your tax bill each year. I've seen a neighboring municipality where that's approximately $260 per household. And then that varies depending on how you operate your landfill.
Okay, thank you. I did some very simplified math. I took the two averages, the average cost, and the difference was $47,000, and it said 13,000, over 13,000 exchanges a year, and so it works out to $4 each exchange. So just in very simple math, maybe you're onto something with raising the fees. But Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Just a quick comment, and you talked about the condition of our landfill. I was at the Pembroke one just last week, and it's a night and day difference between what we have down there and what they're doing. I do have a quick question, read through you to the CAO. The bottom of page 1, CAO, this report has been prepared in response to the resolution. However, as a result of the strong mayor powers, items which affect the corporate structure provided solely to the mayor. Where I'm going with that is, so we don't get the full information. Does council get the full information when a report like this is done up? And I know there's one later on with regard to the street sweeper. We talk about the strong mayor powers there. So I'd just like to firm that up. Is the mayor saying don't give the information to us? Or is it staff simply proceeding in a direction that they feel falls under the strong mayor power? So if you can just clarify that for me, thank you.
CEO, please.
So through you, Reeve, matters that fall under the strong mayor powers, the report goes to the mayor. With all of them that have been done, he has always authorized the release of the report. So once he reviews the report and issues that direction for us to release it, then we always share it with council through email. So the information does make it to council. It's just because the power rests with the strong mayor under legislation, the report goes to the strong mayor first for direction for release.
Thank you. And Councillor Legree.
Through you, Reeve, Emo. So I just want to be clear, because the strong mayor's thing is a little bit confusing. So this came to Mayor Sidney. He made the decision to keep the operations of the landfill internal, and he's added 0.5 FTE, full-time equivalent. Then the report comes to us as just information. Am I correct on that, or am I wrong?
CEO, could you clarify, please?
So through you, Reeve, the 0.5 increase was actually approved by council, is part of the 2025 budget before strong mayors took effect. So although it's taken us till this point to be able to fill that, we had to work with getting job descriptions sorted, as it was a joint position, sorting that out with the union. That was built into the organizational structure in April of last year, which means the organizational structure as it was on April 30th is the one that is in effect until the strong mayor deems otherwise and issues a mayoral decision to change it. So because that 0.5 was in there but had not yet been filled, it was not the strong mayor who determined that 0.5. The strong mayor did get the report, or I don't know if it might be sitting waiting for his return. I can't remember where that one's specifically sitting in regards to whether in-house or having it done through contractors was a report that went to him and did not necessarily talk about the 0.5 aspect unless you wish to change it.
Okay. And Councillor Sobolski.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. With respect to the aging equipment and the proper accommodations for staff at the scale, is this something that we should be potentially talking about, setting money in? I'm not sure if it's in the capital or not, but for a design, so that we can start the design process and what a scale and a proper house and everything would be, so that we can at least start the forecasting of what a replacement would be, if it could be. I'm not sure if it's in the capital or not, but at least the design process.
Manager Springer, please.
Through you, Reeve. So we have started that because we did discuss that as part of the 2025 budget. The quotes that we received were a lot higher than we thought. So just speaking with the director today, we are looking at doing a request for proposal to see what other options we can find that weren't the ones that we got quotes for, and working with our building inspector to get some of the technical information that I'm lacking in terms of some of the building code and things like that. So we're working on it.
Councillor Cybulski?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And next we'll move to E.22. That Committee of the Whole recommends the Renfrew Town Council approve in principle the location of a recycling depot at the Renfrew landfill and delegate remaining negotiations and authority to enter into an agreement with Circular Materials Ontario for the operation of the same. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor McDonald, Councillor Cybulski, and Manager Springer, please.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. So the town of Renfrew transitioned to the extended producer responsibility recycling model in July of 2023 and signed a recycling depot operations agreement with Circular Materials, also known as CMO, for the transitional period will be ending on December 31st of this year. The agreement included hosting and oversight of the CMO-provided recycling bins at the landfill and providing users with information and direction on their use. The agreement permitted the commingling of eligible, which is residential, and the non-eligible, which is the business, material, with the town paying for a percentage of the hauling and processing fees attributed to the non-eligible users of the bins. So CMO has offered a new depot agreement for the post-transition period beginning January 1st, 2026. However, the terms of the agreement require further clarification, and CMO has been difficult to communicate with. Since this report was written, I have been able to get a few more answers from them, but what remains unknown is, firstly, what is considered an eligible user of the depot, which will inform how many bins and how much of the material collected CMO will pay for. So CMO has clarified on this item that per the latest regulatory amendments, eligible depot users are only those in multifamily facilities that were not serviced prior to transition, which for Renfrew is only the Lapine Lodge. However, Lapine Lodge is currently receiving service from CMO. I don't know if the person I spoke to at CMO knew that at that time that we had that conversation, so it's possible that this may change. For the second thing is for the commingling of residential and commercial material, CMO has indicated that they will permit this, but they have not developed a cost-sharing model for us to review yet. So initially, CMO indicated that they required a signed agreement by October 31st, but they have indicated that they can give us another 2 weeks with it. But it's still a tight deadline. Therefore, the recommendation is worded such that council is being asked to determine whether the ongoing location of the depot at the Renfrew landfill is acceptable in principle, as us having the depot available will help to increase waste diversion efforts and is convenient for users. The terms and cost share of the final agreement remain subject to further negotiations. One item for negotiation which has been discussed amongst the staff is to strengthen our ability to terminate the contract and or to shorten the term, given which will give us the ability to better evaluate the functioning and actual costs of the depot in 2026 and make a decision from there. However, if the landfill hosts a depot, it will be expected that the town will be responsible for some portion of the depot operating costs. So our options are to approve the depot location in principle and delegate remaining negotiations and agreement approval execution to staff. By delegating the decision to staff, negotiation agreement or rejection of the depot agreement is not affected by council meeting schedules. Should a depot agreement similar to what is currently in place be offered by CMO, town staff would agree to the depot agreement, as it is in the best interest of the town to provide a convenient waste disposal option. Waste diversion option. However, should a depot agreement that staff feel unfairly splits costs or agreement that would cause operational difficulties at the landfill, the staff would reject the depot agreement. As indicated in the CAO comment, if council chooses this option, the specific staff which have a delegated authority should be identified. Second option is to postpone the discussion and decision to the October 28th meeting in hopes that additional information such as the cost-sharing model will be available at that time. I have in the report that adoption would be required at the same meeting, but given the extension that CMO has offered, we could do final adoption at the November 12th meeting. And then the third option is to reject any offer from CMO. And if we do not have a depot at the landfill, if CMO does indeed have regulated obligations to provide new facility that is built in the near future, then CMO is going to be required to locate a depot in another location to service those folks. Sorry, it's a bit complicated, but I can take any questions if you have them.
Great, thank you. Councillor Andrew Dick, please.
Thank you, Reeve Emo, and through you. So that wasn't complicated. I actually understood everything she said, which was a great report, and thank you so much for a great report. Here's just my 2 thoughts on it. I think Manager Springer is very passionate about what she does here. She understands all this stuff, and I have no issue delegating this decision to go through her and her managers. I know her best interest will be in the town and saving the world and the planet and all that good stuff that she does. And that's not an insult. That's a compliment. And I have full faith in her and her manager in making this decision, so I have no issues with this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Legree.
Through you, Reeve Emo. I agree with Councillor Dick fully. I think, and I would move option 1.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Cebulski?
Thank you, through you, Reeve. Just a bit of clarity. Does this include the businesses on Main Street being segregated and having different costs? Is this part of that discussion as well for the cardboard and whatnot? I just want to make sure that I understand.
Manager, please.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. So it is related. So in terms of the businesses downtown, we're looking into curbside collection for them and working with Millers directly, as was council directed us to do, as well as looking with our other neighboring municipalities. So this is for a convenience of dropping off your recycling at the landfill. If you have more than maybe you're able to put out curbside or store for 2 weeks, or you buy, a big appliance and you have a big box and you want to get rid of it. This is for convenience, and with the way that we're looking at proposing this is that both businesses and residents could use it. We will just have to pay for anything above and beyond what CMO thinks they're responsible for.
Councillor?
Thank you, through you, Reeve, and again, thank you for the clarification, and I echo my 2 councillors with putting the trust in your hands.
Okay, thank you. So as I understand it, it's option 1, and council wishes to proceed at this time. So with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? None? It's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Manager. Moving to E.3.1. That Committee of the Whole recommends that Renfrew Town Council approve the suggested amendments to the procurement policy, and further that the appropriate bylaw is brought forward. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Cebulski, second by Councillor Legree. And Treasurer Hodge, please.
Thank you. Through the chair. Is that okay? Back green again? Sorry. Thank you. So the recommendation is that the Committee of the Whole recommends that Renfrew Town Council approve the suggested amendments to the procurement policy, and further that the appropriate bylaw is brought forward. There's no direct financial implications from this report. This policy dictates the procurement processes, and it gives accountability and transparency. At a regular council meeting back in February 2025, council approved a policy review schedule, and this was one of those policies that was scheduled for review. The current procurement policy was reviewed in 2022 and passed by bylaw 88-2022. That policy is a 33-page in length policy, and it details the steps in the structure of the procurement processes which are followed by the town. The next scheduled policy review is for 2029. But of course, if other important things were to come up in between now and then that were needed for that policy, it could be brought back to council and updated at that time as well. So the proposed amendments for this are attached as Appendix A. And so we have, it's a document called Procurement Policy Review Draft, and it has the proposed amendments related to the changes. Some of them are in corporate structure, some of them are technology, some of them are for clerical corrections and formatting to maintain or bolster the checks and balances of the current policy. So there's three options here. We could accept the amendments as proposed by staff in the attachment, or make additional amendments as council deems appropriate, or not accept any amendments, which of course would mean that the existing policy remain in effect until it comes back at another time. Implement impacts of option one are that we would be able to do some leveraging of technology, and so that we could potentially get more bids and be able to receive those through emails and things like that, and leverage digital platforms in regards to advertising. This ties in again with the strategic plan for 2035, which is to embrace change with the use of technology. If we're looking at other changes under option two, what we like to make sure of is that we don't create any loops or inconsistencies that hinder the interpretation, which is what we've kept an eye on with the changes that are proposed as well. In option three, to not accept any amendments, would just have us continuing to provide the policy that's followed explicitly as it's written. And so I'm just going to quickly go through some of the changes in the attached policy so that you have an idea of what we've done there. And then if there's any questions or things we can clarify, we'd be happy to do so. It's a long policy, but I'll try and just take a few minutes to do that. The first, in this policy, it's numbered by pages, so I'll refer to the page numbers as I go through it. If you look at the first page, it starts with table of contents, but then goes to a policy statement and then to definitions. So anything you see throughout here that's either strucken out in red or blue has been changed or added. Everything else that's in just the black and white and blue formatting, it is the previously existing policy as it was. So for the definitions, you'll see we've just done some formatting. We've taken away quotations and where it says shall mean, because that's a new formatting template that's being used to update all the policies. You'll see more of that on page 2. And on page 3, under definitions, we've added some additional definitions, just to be clear, so that whoever's using this as a supplier of goods and services knows, and that staff also, and councillors, everyone knows, the public, that exactly what we're trying to say. So we've added a definition for councillor, for department, and for department head, just so there's no misinterpretation there. I would next point, moving forward to page 6, the red there, we've added sealed bids and sealed proposal, and the recommendation that it can be done as an electronic submission. That would be different than just bringing a sealed envelope physically to the town hall. So that's something to make note of. The thought there is that that would increase the amount of suppliers who would be able to bid on tenders and proposals and quotations. Under page 7, we've made note of the application of the policy to define that. Specifically, the last line where it says, "No purchase of goods or services shall be authorized unless it is in compliance with this policy." On page 8, we've shifted a little bit. We've added, broken out purpose to purpose and then goals. Reiterating the purpose of the policy again. And then under goals, if you look at some changes there, the first few are just in some grammar and spelling. On page 9, I noticed as I reviewed this today that we have item K, which has nothing there, so that's a little spelling correction we'll make as we tidy this up later. On page 10, a new part that we've added is under 4.1A, where it says, for construction capital items of $100,000 or more, in accordance with 4D below, which we've actually shifted, so then that will now become 5D, which is where the chart is that shows the thresholds of purchasing. The council will be circulated the proposed design during the design phase to facilitate consultation in advance of a request for tender. And I hope I have the correct wording there. I believe that was a request that came out of a council meeting and that was being addressed there to try to facilitate that. If that's not correct, we would welcome feedback there. On page 11, we've done some corrections there to just properly clean up the wording from standing committees to say council. And so that's more clear and current. On page 12, we've made little changes to request for quotation for some clarity. And under request for tenders, which is item D, about middle of the page. And you're also going to see this under section E and F that follow. We have made some changes, which is that it now reads, consideration of placing an advertisement in an appropriate newspaper should be made by the department head. And that's to reflect the current situation where newspapers are changing, there's not as many as there used to be, and sometimes the costs with that also have to be budgeted for. And we've changed noticed must be placed on the Town of Renfrew website, so it's there for everyone to see. And under stricken out the part where it says required expertise is outside of the county, the department head may advertise in other daily commercial newspapers or trade publications. We've just made a small change to the word firms to suppliers for where it says the department head may invite qualified suppliers. And the next 2 points have been added. They were not there before. So this could be an option to keep or remove these. One is that department heads are encouraged where possible to include one or more qualified suppliers that are a resident of or operate out of the municipality. We could change that to town when inviting qualified suppliers, and that this effort is not intended to give preference in making an award, but it is to provide municipalities suppliers with a chance to participate in the municipality's procurement opportunities. And you will see that, like I had said, in the next section E, request for proposals, and again on the page 13 under the continuing sections, where we say that for F, a request for standing offer, similar language. On page 14, we've added when you can see it in red, where it used to say as such such date, we've changed it to the specified date and time. I felt like that was more detailed so that if you have a tender that's closing at 2 p.m., you wouldn't want someone to debate and argue that it was just the date, but actually the exact time that the tender closes. I think that just tightens it up. And on page 15, a new thing that was added there was bids shall be submitted in accordance with the provisions of the bid solicitation. And just so everyone understands what a bid solicitation is, that's been added to the definition section at the beginning of the policy. On page 16, this is probably one of the a very important spot to make note of, where it says awards $100,000 or greater require approval by council, including a bylaw authorizing the execution of a contract if required. That just gives more assurance, and you'll see that again under the next section for request for proposal, and I believe that it gives clarity to the clerk's department as well, that they know that bylaw will always accompany a contract for over $100,000, so that everybody has the same understanding and expectation there, and that's met. On page 18, you see that again, the same thing I just mentioned. Page 19, there's some grammar changes. And on page 20, we kind of circle back to the consideration of advertisements in an appropriate newspaper, because we know sometimes that's become more challenging. And on jumping to page 24, we've made note of the Municipal Emergency Control Group, which is a very important item because it has its own set of emergency protocols, and it's important to know that those are in effect under an emergency and how sometimes goods or services could be needed in a major disaster. So we've given a definition of the Municipal Emergency Control Group under definitions as well, so that that's very clear that there's only a specific application for that. One small change under corporate credit and procurement cards on page 25 is that the program will be administered and audited by the treasurer. I've added deputy treasurer there because I think that facilitates that a little more fluently. And it's just an update of the contacts on page 27 to myself from what it previously had read. And I believe that's basically a quick summary of the changes that you'll see there in red or blue.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Councillor Cebulski, I'm sorry.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. To steal the floor for a bit, we discovered today, at least on my platform, the blue and red lines weren't available to me till later today. And thanks to working with the clerk, we got it available, but there's a lot of information here. This is a big package, and I think at the end of what I'm going to say, I'm going to ask that we push this off to another meeting to give everyone a fair chance, at least myself, to continue to review. But within that, I would like to request if I can get some additional information provided just on how frequently are we using the policy. So how many times in a year are we going into this policy and following it to acquire or purchase or provide contracts to people? I feel it's a lot. And within that, the reason I want to know that is because in my mind, I'm curious if potentially we're asking a lot out of our directors to be doing these, following these policies, and I did ask the director behind me for permission to use her as an example, but should our recreation department be doing the RFP process for ball diamond lights? I understand it falls under the department, but should they be the ones writing the proposals with the engineers and the architects to figure that out? Also, with respect to our fire chief, should he be the one writing the proposal for the parging that got done on the outside of the building? Should we be looking at a general manager or a potentially individual person that deals with all the procurement that the town of Renfrew goes through? I find it could be a lot. Like we're all individually skilled and we're tasked individuals in individual areas, and to ask someone that is trained specifically in the fire department to be dealing with building protocols might be a little bit outside, so I know I'm asking for a lot, but I'd be curious to know how many RFPs and RFQs we put out in a season, or in a year, sorry, and if it could be beneficial to have someone who's a professional in procurement.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this around a little bit because I think we should get a couple of answers before we table it. Okay, so Treasurer Hodge, can you give us kind of an estimate as to how many times this might be used in a year since you've been here 6 weeks?
Just, I suppose it's a higher level answer, but for example, like every capital item that you pass in your budget would certainly have one form of tender or quotation or proposal. But it goes beyond that because there's could be services like IT and things like that as well. That the first thought that goes through my head to answer that question would be it's basically a purchasing Bible. Like everything that's purchased or procured, you're right, every department head has to look to that policy to see what is required, and that would be consistent among all municipalities. And it does create more responsibility, but for a good reason, of course. And I was just going to say, given the opportunity, I'm not as completely fluent in which person covers which asset here for things like purging and things like that. And I know there's some breakdown of that, but I wouldn't want to try to explain it and get it wrong in my short time here. So maybe whether that's something we come back with, or someone else might have a better overview of that than I do this evening.
Okay, thank you. And so what I guess might be the second question, are you suggesting that during budget considerations we look at some kind of general manager / procurement?
Yeah, through you, Reeve. I would like to have the conversation. Now, that's something that I'm looking to add. I just want to know that we've had a tough history with our projects, and we've talked about our projects, and individual stress on the directors in areas might not, we could help avoid it if we had someone that was very, very versed in procurement. It could really aid our process to make sure that everything's dotted. To throw this at a director that may not feel totally comfortable with a 30-some page document on top of everything else to try and get a contract right, it's a lot of work.
Okay, so we meet on the 27th. Maybe that's just a general conversation we have at some point during the budget discussions, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
And then the next, I believe you're going to make a motion to table this for a meeting?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to table this for another week. I haven't had the opportunity since receiving the markup to go through this in a fine-tooth comb. And with respect to page number I believe 10, the addition there is stemming from my motion, and I would like a little bit more time just to understand that verbiage and respect that it's proper to what I'd like to see and discuss it.
Okay, thank you. And to the clerk, I need some advice. Does tabling need a seconder?
Yes, through you, preview. So if the motion's put on the floor by Councillor Cebulski, then we do need a seconder in the vote. Okay, so we'll take a look at that. If there are any more questions first, and then Councillor Legree, just so that we can give Treasurer Hodge, some things to mull over.
Through you, Reeve. Just a question on page 12, where it says the department has encouraged, where possible, to include one or more qualified suppliers that are residents of or operate out of the municipality when inviting qualified suppliers. So what does that mean? So if we're looking, I'll just use a tractor, trying to buy a lawn tractor, and we have a couple of stores in town that sell them, does that mean that they're going to reach out to them to see if they want to put a bid in? Or I just don't understand that part.
That would be the intention of it, is whether I've seen it done with or without that, where some municipalities prefer to make local suppliers aware, and some feel like it's the responsibility of the business to be aware of that themselves. The way this is added would allow us to highlight like what we are advertising on our website, etc. but it wasn't there before, so it may be something that we may not wish to add.
No, I think we should. Like, it kills me when we buy something that's outside of the town of Renfrew that, and I know Councillor Dick is the same, I'm sure we all are, when we buy something outside the town of Renfrew that there's a supplier in the town that actually, and I know we have to be financial responsible and all that for the ratepayers, but I think I like that piece added in there. Just anyway, I just wanted to confirm. So
yeah, and if I might add, I think it, to my reading, and I'd ask that you clarify it if you don't mind. To my reading, it meets the obligations we have to international trade agreements, because the next section talks about not giving preference. But just if you could clarify that for us. Yes. Yeah, not today. We're a tough crowd, but we're not that bad. And I believe, Councillor Dick, did I see your hand up?
Thank you, Reeve. Just a quick question. How do I say this? So we need a tractor. The town needs a tractor. The tractor's $35,000. How does that process work? So I'm going to say the recreation department needs a tractor. So Director Latondras is the person who's going to go look at this tractor. And does she physically, sorry, I shouldn't say she, does Director Latondras physically go and look for that $35,000 tractor, or Director Latondras puts out an RFP? So
hopefully, and I think we've done that repeatedly, as there is a tender or RFQ go out to, we've often had a select number of pre-approved suppliers. Cobden, couple in town, and maybe someone in Carleton Place or Elmont. So there's been a list for stuff like that. So the specs go out, and the question has come back to us a couple times. The specs sometimes may lean towards a certain brand, so we have to make sure the specs are ambiguous enough that we're looking for, a 56 horsepower, whatever. And so that's been a challenge, but I think we've met that challenge. We haven't heard any complaints for the last little while. So in theory, there's specs go out that don't favor a particular model or vehicle. And then the process is and I think unofficially we've circulated it internal in our municipality as well as posted and go out. But I think it's a good idea to make sure we put it in policy in case somebody grumbles. So to this time, I think we're fairly clean on it, at least until somebody hears this. Okay, anyway, so supplementary?
Thank you. Okay, totally understand where we're going with that now. So now, Director Latondras has put all this out.
Yep.
And Director Latondras gets 2 bids back. And one's from, just say, Ottawa, and the other one's just say from the town of Renfrew for that $35,000 tractor. The one in Ottawa is $32,000. The one in Renfrew is $35,000. Does she have the delegated authority to say, you know what, I know it's $3,000 more because we're only at $35,000. We're not above that $50,000. Does Director Latondras say, hey, this is local. This money's going to stay local. I know it's $3,000 more, but we're going to spend that money local? Or does Director Latondras have to go with that one with this policy at $32,000?
So my answer is no, that she has the ability to recommend an award, but there has to be some very substantial rationale for it, and I'll let the CAO bail me out.
So through you, Reeve, the way the policy is written is that no staff person can choose to not go with the lowest price, but we can choose to bring a report to council because it's council who authorizes to go with not the lowest. So the way this is written, we've had this once before, I think it was ice line painting, where lowest bid came in, the other one difference was brought to council as to whether you wish to go with the lowest or go with the other company, and council had made the choice, but staff do not have that authority with this current policy to award to somebody who is not the lowest without council's approval specifically.
Entry.
Thank you, Reeve. Email and through you. Okay, so since we're talking about this, I don't, maybe my fellow councillors would disagree, but I feel we need to come up with a percentage to allow staff to make purchases that are within town. I don't know how we can change that, but I think we need to change that somehow, because personally, I don't want to see staff coming back every meeting and saying for a $5,000 purchase, oh, it was $4,800 in Ottawa, it was $5,000 in Renfrew. That's a lot of wasted time, but I think there's got to be something there, because I think we all agree if it's anywhere from $500 to $800, even $1,000, maybe even $2,000, we want to keep those dollars locally in Renfrew. I'm not going to lie, when I see out-of-town HVAC and out-of-town any out-of-town in this town, it drives me up the wall, because we have so many good local businesses that can help out our town and our town people. So can we change this policy since we're talking about it?
Why don't we see what comes up next week?
Okay.
To be honest with you, because again, it's the trade piece. We got hammered in the third-party review about not paying as much attention to the trade restrictions and all of the international agreements. So I think we have to play with that. And then also, I don't, maybe staff don't want to have to make that decision and then take the beating on the street. They may want to bring it to council, knowing that the council makes the ultimate decision. So anyway, I think your comments have all been heard, and so we'll dump that back into Treasurer Hodge's very capable hands, and he can wind his way through that minefield. Councillor McWhirter, I'm sorry.
I just have a question. I guess this would be for Clerk Eric. When did this policy, let's put together, it's been revised in 2023. When did this come into effect? Has this been around for 10 years, 30 years, 20 years? I wonder if you can.
Clerk?
Through you, Reeve. So, I mean, for the most part, the municipality has had a procurement policy that we've been working with. I know in part of the third-party review, there was a procurement policy that was in place at the time and has since been amended. I'm just scrolling down to the bottom. There is a history of amendments listed specific to this policy. So this policy was originally brought forward on, this new policy, this newly adopted, which did come out of the third-party review and was kind of assisted with, I guess, based on some of the recommendations and the findings of the third-party review. So this new policy was originally brought to council on January 1st, 2023. It was then amended in January 2025, or at least reviewed, and then now is being brought forward again. So we try to ensure that when changes are made or amendments are made, there's a tracking history, but certainly there was a huge overhaul and a brand new policy developed in 2023 based on the third-party review.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, David.
Yes.
So having looked over this policy and based on the Clerk Everett's explanation, this goes back beyond our third-party review. And during discussion of the third-party review, there were some things that came up, and I'm not going to point it out right at the moment, but I think we were given some misinformation, and I would refer to page 18 for my fellow 19, sorry, for my fellow councillors in particular. And this is not against, this doesn't point fingers at any staff here, because none of you guys were here actually way back then, so or in the positions you're in, because changes have been made. But there's a couple of things that really bother me, that this procurement was not followed properly. It came out during the third-party review, but there was some information given to us that's clearly in here, and we were giving misinformation. based on what I'm seeing here, unless this information got changed in January 23, which I know it didn't, based on what I'm seeing. So I think we need a policy like this, and I think we really need to stick to the policy, and there should be some kind of mechanism in place that this policy is referred to, especially if it comes to irregularities, and there's a big irregularity that came out of the past. It's too late to go back and dwell on it now, but when I read this, it's really, that was misinformation that all the council was given, and not happy with that. So if we really need to stick to our policies going forward. Thank you.
Okay. So do you want to? Sure. Thanks. Sorry, I just asked because there's some dates that don't add up for me, and I see you. So, clerk, please.
Through you, Revimo. And yes, I guess both to Councillor McWhorter's point, but also when we were just looking at this policy here, I did just misspoke. When I was looking at the dates, the history dates, I would say that it's noted. I think the intent was that we were to bring it back in January 2025. However, it wasn't done at that time. So it's just coming to council right now. So the last time it was updated is January 1st, 2023. It's now coming back to council for the first time now. And so just, I wanted to clarify that because I didn't want to give anybody the misinformation. And to your point, short of comparing both policies directly, I mean, we can certainly get that information to council, but I don't have a cross comparison as to whether that section you're referring to was noted. I would say there is probably some verbiage to that effect, but the exact wording, I'm not sure.
Thank you. And Councillor Legree?
Through you, Revimo. So correct me if I'm wrong, but we have two purchasing partners, I guess, I believe, Canoe, and do we not have somebody else? How do they play like we use the tractor as a scenario. We're looking for a tractor. Do they source this stuff out for us, or because we're always talking about the director sourcing it out? Do we not use?
So what happens with Canoe is you go on and look at what they offer, and if they are the winner, you get the lowest price plus you get a local supplier. Canoe, I think guarantees is too strong a word. Promises, if I'm buying Smith tires, and you're the distributor, Smith tires will bid at the very lowest they can. Canoe says take these tires, and they flood it through the local distributor. So it's not, I'm not getting my Smith branded tires from a place in Hamilton. Please.
So through you, Reeve, our policy does have written in, they're called joint procurement opportunities. So this policy does allow us to use and utilize those. So not only are the ones that we're part of with the LAS and the newest one, I can't remember the exact name, that we just joined about a month or so ago, it also allows us to go in joint with other municipalities when we're trying to do something on a larger basis, such as the election, electronic voting tabulators, we would go with a group. The policy indicates that we follow the procurement policy of the one who's going to host it. So when we use LAS, we use their procurement policy standards. So they go through all the process of vetting all of the vendors. They've done the RFP. They've received, 30, 40 different ones from across the province. And the ones they chose have met their policies. So if there's something that we know LAS can provide or one of these other joint procurement opportunities, then we can participate in that without having to specifically do a tender or a quote. We're careful on some of those because sometimes the larger dollar amounts, there might be opportunities, but there might also be sometimes local ones who can actually provide us better prices than the corporate ones because they're looking at national offices from across Ontario. So sometimes the prices aren't always better, but we do have that opportunity that we can skip a lot of the administrative work because it's built in here so long as they have done that administrative work on our behalf.
Perfect, thank you.
Now, unless there's further general discussion on the policy, we could probably take a look at that motion that you'd submitted, and I believe that we have a seconder to table it. Councillor Legree, any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling? Great, thank you. And we will move now to E.5.1, which is that Committee of the Whole received the crack ceiling report as information. A mover, please. Councillor McWhorter, second Councillor Legree, and Director Bishop, please.
Thank you, and through you, Reeve. At the regular meeting of Council on August 12, 2025, Reeve Peter Emo brought forward a notice of motion regarding a crack ceiling program. Reeve Emo noted that while significant road construction has been completed in the past 5 to 10 years, some of our older roads are now showing widening cracks. To prevent further deterioration and to align with the town's asset management plan, preventative measures such as crack sealing are required. So after that meeting, Council directed staff to provide information on the town's crack sealing program, including reviewing the effectiveness of the program. So currently, and for the past few years, the town of Renfrew does not and has not had a formal crack sealing program. In the past, the budget has been allocated for asphalt patching and crack sealing, with contractors hired to undertake crack sealing on select streets. Due to budget constraints over the past few years, crack sealing has not been completed since 2021. While Council specifically requested information on roads paved in the last 1 to 5 years, it is noted that none of these roads have received crack sealing to date. Municipal roads have an expected life of 30 years, and all roads will naturally deteriorate. Crack sealing is a proven pavement preservation treatment that extends the service life of a roadway. If applied to roads in fair condition, crack sealing can extend a surface life by 3 to 5 years. The town's asset management plan identifies opportunities to extend the lifespan to 35 years of these roads, reducing long-term funding needs. To support the rehabilitation of roads in the future, staff will develop a preventative road maintenance program, including crack sealing, for the mayor's consideration in future annual budgets. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councillor Sobalski.
Thank you, through your Reeve. Just a process, I guess a physical process for crack sealing. Are we just going to identify opened up cracks and seal them, or is there a process of cutting before resealing to try and contour the edges or anything? It's just a little bit on the process, please.
Yep, through you, Reeve. So in our case right now, I believe we would probably be identifying small cracks in the road and trying to seal those in our roads, as I mentioned, in the last 5 to 10 years that have been done, that are still in fairly good condition. But I've mentioned before, we were proposing the street scan system in our budget, and this program should identify all cracking and identify those roads that crack sealing actually is applicable. We don't want to try to do it on roads that are kind of too far gone, and kind of extend the life of those that are not so bad yet.
Thank you. Any further questions? All those in favor? Opposed? None? It's carried. Thank you. That Committee of the Whole received the street sweeping operations report as information to be further discussed in the 2026 budget process. Mover, please. Councillor Legree, second by Councillor McWhorter. Discussion, Director Bishop, please.
Thank you, and through you, Reeve. So at the regular meeting of Council on April 8th, 2025, Councillor John McDonald brought forward a notice of motion regarding street sweeping operations. Staff was directed to provide the following information: the current street sweeping operations, the street sweeper life expectancy, and options regarding contracting street sweeping services. So to note, this report does not include any recommendations or analysis related to organizational structure or staffing changes. It is limited to operational and financial considerations only, and a separate report has been prepared for the mayor for review. So our staff response for current street sweeping operations. That was question 1. So bylaw 68-2024 was passed on August 13th, 2024 regarding our street sweeping policy. This was formally brought by Director Collins. The town of Renfrew undertakes street sweeping on all paved municipal roadways and sidewalks. The policy guides staff and informs the public in understanding when, how, and why street sweeping is undertaken. The street sweeping is delivered in-house by one trained operator. Sweeping occurs through April through November. It is used on the main street every second Thursday or Friday in the summer to clear debris, sand, and dust prior to the weekend. It is also used in construction zones for glass cleanup and other required spills throughout town. The second question was the street sweeper life expectancy. The street sweeper is a 2012 Elgin Whirlwind street sweeper. It was forecasted for replacement in 2026. The estimate in 2021 was $250,000 and has since increased. The current condition of the street sweeper is serviceable but aging, increasing maintenance and downtime. It runs at full power in a dusty and abrasive situation while working, so it's aging quickly. Planning for replacement of the street sweeper was strongly recommended and therefore has been included in our 2026 draft budget. Contracting service, as mentioned before, I can't go too much into this with the merit report being separate, but changes of levels of service can be determined by council. Changes to the organizational structure or full-time equivalents will be made under the authority of the strong mayor. To note, the current service delivery model is functioning efficiently and aligns with town service goals. Staff will continue to monitor equipment condition and prepare for scheduled replacement in 2026. Thank you.
So just a bit of a learning curve for council. Fred Dean is a municipal solicitor, and he's an expert on process. And he told me once that you should read, if you're chairing meetings, you should read the procedural bylaw a couple times a month, and I have. And so, Councillor Dick, I'm sorry, but I can't allow you to have I can't allow you to contribute because you left during the vote. So I just wanted to let you know that that's part of the procedural bylaw.
So I'm one up on your Emo. I knew that.
Okay, good.
Bonus. But I had to use the loo, so I understand. And
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm appreciative of your understanding and your description of the urgency. So with that, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve, through you, and to the CAO. Last page under contracting services, and again, I'll just point out that the mayor has information that we don't. But I would like to know the costing, because we're not talking about, and this is where the question's going up, we're not talking about laying people off or full-time equivalencies and that sort of stuff, but I'd love to know what the costing is with regard to if we were to contract it out. So that's totally separate to me than organizational charts and all that. So I would like the costing for that, because we get into the budget, again, we're meeting next week, and we talk about the street sweeper being in 2024, 400,000. In the information package we had for the budget, it's listed at 550,000, and it's listed as critical. So I would like to see what the options are with regard to contracting. Again, we're not talking about organizational charts, we're talking about the finances. Can you comment on that, please?
Madam CEO?
So through you, Reeve, that is a complicated conversation in the sense that if we contract out, is there enough work to maintain the staff who do the street sweeping during that time, or does that change the number of staff that we hire? So that's where answering that conversation of is contracting out impacting organizational structure, which is strong mayor or not. In regards to this, the report is sitting and waiting. Unfortunately, it did not get through to the mayor before he went off on his leave. So I imagine this will be just like all of the other reports where when he issues a mayoral decision, it will direct us to share that report with council. I'm not sure if the director actually has information of what that costing impact is, but there's a very fine line on that one, because if it does impact an employee levels by even part of an FTE, then it does impact the organizational structure, and so we have to be careful what we're doing, that we don't put the town in a position where they are breaking legislation.
Reeve?
Please, yeah. I'm working through this in my head. Go ahead.
Through you to the CEO to understand what you're saying. but I just want the finances. So that's, to me, there can be a separation with regard to this in terms of full-time equivalency, and with regard to, we're going into a budget, what's the difference between spending $550,000 plus HST, I would imagine, and contracting out? So I just would love an example with regard to costing.
Okay, so, okay, yeah. I'm informed we don't have that direct comparison. So let me see if I can wind my way through this. Okay, so is it possible, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, we're really trying to figure this out. I did see your hand, I think. Yeah, okay, good. So is it possible to get a bulk number so that we know this function costs $100 and the total hours per year that we do it is 57? Is it possible that kind of number, and then we can then go out to someone and say, look, if we were to put this out and it operates 875 hours a year and travels 1,300 kilometers, just for the sake of speccing it, and say, can you just give us a ballpark figure so we know what we're talking about? Is that possible? Because we're not really pushing out any information besides a bulk number. I'm not trying to be argumentative if I sound that. So we're trying to get a bulk number, so we know the number of hours, we know the number of kilometers, if that's how we calculate, and then we also know the bulk number. And so that doesn't, so the bulk number, could include training, it can include replacement time, but we don't know any of that stuff. So we don't know that it's a total of 2,040 hours a year. We don't know that. We just know that this is the actual physical number, and we can work it out in our heads it costs this much per kilometer, recognizing that doesn't take into consideration, the cost of the depreciation on the machine and replacement parts. So we have a bulk number, the number of hours, the number of kilometers, and then, we can get maybe just a back of the envelope casual estimate so we know whether we want to investigate it or we know whether we want me to go and talk to the mayor and say, would you please release this report? Because I'm prepared to do those kinds of things, but I just need to know how much runway I have. Thank you.
So we can definitely provide the information of how many hours are spent on average per year in street sweeping operations, and thus what it costs. It's not something we're going to have for tomorrow or even probably the end of the week. That is going to probably take us, 2 weeks, end of maybe next week, to get the information together in regards to being able to look at that on a contract basis. I don't know if we have that specific information at this time, or how long that will take to get. Just looking at the director in regards to timing there, but we can definitely break down kind of what it costs for ours on average and the number of hours that we spend per year. It'll just take us about 2 weeks to pull the information together based on current staffing, hours, and services that are being offered right at the moment.
Okay, so I'll Director Bishop and then Councillor Zabalski's been very patient with me.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. I just want to note that in order to get maybe a more detailed quote or a number that's accurate to compare, we may need to determine the level of service that we would like the contracted service to provide. As far as I know, some neighboring municipalities have hired contractors to do street sweeping before, and it's at a very minimal level. So it's maybe to come in once in the spring just to make sure the streets are cleared of sand and salt debris, and then maybe once in the fall. The feedback I've heard is that it's not as consistent and not as reliable. Of course, they're more than likely from out of town, but if there was kind of, it may not be very comparable because of our operations, but we can clarify, I guess, depending on how many hours we are doing street sweeping, we can ask for kind of their comparable contract amount.
That's why I was thinking kilometers. Yeah, just because that might give us an indication. So, Councillor, thank you. And I wasn't trying to persuade you or anything. I'm just trying to figure it out in my head. Councillor Stabalski and then Councillor Legree.
Thank you, Reeve, and all the discussion. I'd like to add another parameter to understanding. I do believe the piece of equipment we have now was purchased used at the time. Can we add that into the mix as well? A potential 5-year-old piece of equipment that would get us 10 years of service as compared to a new piece of equipment that could get us 15 years of service. I would like to add that into the mix potentially. We're not trying to use it every day of the week, 365, so a used piece of equipment might be to our benefit.
Thank you. And Councillor Legree.
Through you, Reeve Emo. Could we not just get a cost per hour for sweeping from a couple of companies and compare it to what it cost us? We must have a breakdown of manpower and what it costs to run the equipment, and we can compare them to numbers. We don't need to put, I think it's two separate things. I think if we want to look at the cost of it, we look at what it's costing us now to run the sweeper per hour compared to what John Sweeping or some other sweeping company is per hour. And then the second piece is the sweeping policy that we approved not just a little while ago, is where we want to, how much we want to do of the town. Do we want to do it spring and fall and that's it? Do we want to keep it going? So I think there's two pieces here. I'd also like to find out, and I can be corrected, but I believe that the town of Renfrew did contract it out and then brought it back in-house. So I'd like to, I don't know if we can add that in there to see what happened with that, but thanks.
Director Bishop, please.
Through you, Reeve. I do have information on that, and I had talked to Arnprior about that already. That's kind of some of that feedback I got back was from the town of Arnprior saying that they did have it contracted at one point, and the level of service that was provided maybe just by the certain contractor, but it wasn't up to their standard, and they did take it back in-house.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to turn to the clerk for advice. I'm wondering, in terms of should we be looking for an amended motion, or should we just consider this as advice/direction to staff, and with the recording, the Director Bishop and the CAO and unlikely Treasurer Hodge could fashion a report. So we're in your hands.
Okay, through you, Reeve. So what I would suggest, in this case, we could just put a secondary motion on the table, so it's not an amending motion at all, but just further direction. Now, I think I got the first one based on what Reeve was saying, but maybe Councillor Sobolski could correct me if I captured yours as well, but that committee of the whole direct staff to bring forward bulk costing per hour on contracted services for street sweeping for budgetary purposes only, and further that staff be directed to bring forward the cost of a replacement piece of equipment. Did I capture that last part correctly?
Replacement used equipment.
The cost.
Gently pre-owned.
Demonstrator model.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Renfrew.
So what I'll do then is I'll call the vote on this street sweeping operations one, and then we'll move to the amended motion, or to the new motion. So all those in favor of this motion, the original one, to accept the street sweeping one as information, the one that triggered all this. Yeah. So everybody in favor? Great. Okay. Thank you. And now, if you could read out the motion that we've talked about, and then we'll find a mover and seconder, please.
Okay, so that the committee of the whole direct staff to bring forward bulk costing per hour on contracted services for street sweeping for budgetary purposes only, and that further staff be directed to bring forward the cost of replacement with both a used or new piece of equipment.
Okay, thank you. Mover? Councillor Sobolski, seconded by Councillor Legree. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much, Council, and thank you, staff. Really appreciate the contribution. The committee of the whole, Sorry, we'll move to E.6.1, and the Committee of the Whole received the alternate voting services acquired for the 2026-2030 municipal election report as information. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, second Councillor Legree, and we'll turn to the clerk, please.
Okay, thank you. Through your review mode. So on November 12, 2024, Council passed a bylaw 97-2024, being a bylaw to authorize the use of optical scanning vote tabulators for counting votes in the 2026 municipal elections, as well as the use of internet voting, as well as other alternative voting methods. This bylaw authorized the use of advanced voting and empowered the mayor and town clerk, myself, as the returning officer to enter into agreements with selected vendors necessary to administer this type of election, and following, obviously, town procurement and purchasing policies that were in fact. So in preparation, 8 municipalities within Renfrew County collaborated on a joint proposal, and we were able to procure the alternative voting services. This joint RFP was released, or I should say issued, on March 6, 2025 and closed on April 22nd, 2025. Total of 5 bids were received. Through the evaluation process, we narrowed it down to 3 kind of contenders, and then kind of completed interviews, went through the mechanisms for their online voting, and based on all of that process and the evaluation, it was a unanimous decision by all 8 municipalities to proceed with Votes Canada Limited as the successful proponent. Votes had previously partnered with several of the municipalities, including the town of Renfrew, during the 2022 municipal elections. So they are familiar with kind of our local requirements. And again, we ran a successful election in 2022, and they have the history on that. Votes both offers a secure, accessible, and kind of transparent voting platform, and they've demonstrated their commitment to voter confidence in this municipal delivery platform. So I guess, as I've stated, I've brought this information forward to council as information. We are well into election processes and getting things set up, and basically going through the checklist and getting them implemented and getting ready for next fall.
Any questions for clerk? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you, council. And we'll move to consideration of a ballot question, and that Committee of the Whole provides direction to staff on whether it wishes to consider the inclusion of a question on the ballot for the 2026 municipal election. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Legree, second by Councillor McDonald, and Clerk Aird.
Okay, so under Section 8 of the Municipal Elections Act, 1996, municipal council may pass a bylaw to place a question on the ballot during the regular municipal election. The question must meet the following criteria. So it must relate to a matter within the municipality's jurisdiction and one that the municipality has authority to implement. It must not pertain to matters of public interest. The wording must be clear, concise, and neutral, and the possible responses must be limited to yes or no. So this information report, or sorry, this consideration report is being brought forward to council, basically seeking council's opinion or direction as to whether or not they wish to proceed with including a question on the ballot. If council so chooses to proceed, a bylaw must be passed by March 2nd, 2026 in order for the question to be included. I would note that by placing a question on the ballot, results are binding if the majority, which is more than 50% of eligible voters, participate in the question and the majority vote of yes is achieved. Council is required to implement the results of the vote in a timely manner, and if the majority of the vote is no, then council is prohibited from implementing the matter for the 4 years following the voting day. Again, this information is being brought forward, seeking your direction as to whether or not you want to explore the possibility of including a question. I would say then council needs to decide what question they may want to ask, considering what I've just stated and the implications of a yes or no to that question. Any questions?
Council? Councilor McWhorter.
Just one question. I'm just wondering where this came from. It just kind of caught me on left field that we would consider putting something on the ballot that would make us fiscally, financially responsible if whatever question somebody wanted to put on was yes. I just wanted to know where the source was, or if that's possible. I don't know where this came from. I don't.
Clerk?
Absolutely. And valid question for sure. This is part of the election process. Basically, as I stated, there's checks and balances that we have to do as we move forward into the election. One of those is, does any council want to ask a question on their ballot? And again, this is information that should be put out to the group and give you opportunity to bring something forward without disclosing that you have that option. I would hate for the deadline to come and go, and then you guys determine that you wanted a question after all, and the timelines be elapsed, because certainly the timelines are rigid. So we're given lots of ample opportunity for discussion and direction if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Cebulski? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, so the motion is lost. It's 3-3. So we're not... Okay, so we're not going to provide... Okay, so essentially we are not going to provide direction to staff on whether it wishes to consider the inclusion of a question on the ballot for the 2026 municipal election. So that precludes, well, the vote's taken. Yeah, it's 3-3. It's lost. Okay. All right. Sorry. I think everybody understood what they're doing. Okay, perfect. All right. Next, we'll move to correspondence policy, which is that Committee of the Whole recommends that Renfrew Town Council establish a correspondence policy and further that bylaw be brought forward for Council's consideration and adoption. Mover, please. Councillor McWhorter, second Councillor Legree. Discussion, and prior to this, I apologize if I'm calling votes too quickly. High sign me if I am, and I'll slow down. Okay, thank you. I thought I was reading the cues, but just in case. Clerk?
Okay, through you, review. Following the discussion at the regular council meeting of September 23rd regarding resident correspondence that was included in the agenda, members of council had expressed concern about the absence of a formal process and the lack of clarity around the responsibility of responding to such matters. So while the town's procedural bylaw, which is 44-2025, outlines the provisions for including correspondence on meeting agendas, it does not clearly define the type of correspondence or how they should be addressed once received. Correspondence submitted to council without being directed to staff does not currently trigger a formal direction or response unless explicitly instructed by council. So the purpose of this report is to initiate a formal process for managing public correspondence directed to council, ensuring clarity, consistency, and accountability in how such communication is received, categorized, and responded to. So the policy that I've attached, kind of searching out different examples within Ontario. Again, we do have a complaint policy and a communications policy, but in review of both of our internal, I certainly will say that correspondence directed to council is not addressed. So I do think this is a great policy to have, and I do think that if you're reading through the policy, it does give good direction and clarity on how to respond to a number of different items, whether they're correspondence from other levels of government, petitions that are circulated, questions, comments, all of those things. And I do think that providing that type of clarity and allowing both council to understand the process as well as staff does make things a lot easier consider as we move forward. So if there's any questions about the policy itself or any maybe amendments or anything you'd like to see, I'm happy to comment.
Councillor Andrew Dick, please.
Thank you, Revimo, and through you. So, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a quick answer, and then I'll follow up. Is somewhere in the policy, and I did read it, and I couldn't decipher or not, when a citizen sends an email specifically or a letter, should their full name, full address, phone number be on that letter, and then should our staff not verify that they're a taxpayer of the town of Renfrew? Specifically, we get a lot of emails, and a lot of emails are signed off amazingly, and we have no idea who this person is. And then it's distributed to us, and we don't even know if it's a real person or not. So that's my concern, is we've had correspondence on here with just names on it. So I think we need to address that, Revimo, to make sure do you understand? Especially when they're coming after council and staff, we should make sure where they live.
Okay, good point. And I think this is a draft, is it not?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking if that's in there.
That can go in the hopper. Sorry, I was looking at something else, thinking ahead. So yes, that could go in the hopper for the clerk to consider and the CAO and figure out if they can manage to mangle that in there.
Could I just add
Please.
2 points to that? And just so that I get proper direction. In the policy right now, we have two sections of correspondence. Some correspondence that's received directly to our office and then distributed. So I do feel that when something's directed to council through the town hall and through clerks, that process is undertaken and distributed to the best of our ability, I believe. However, when correspondence goes directly to council and is circulated amongst council and maybe flipped to us, I don't feel maybe that same process is taken. So that's a good way of clarifying, first off. I would also note that if it is going on to a public agenda, we do need to be careful under privacy to ensure that personal identifiers are redacted. I would say that full names are included, and we do make it very clear when we're talking to the individual that their full name will be added. Their address is included in certain circumstances, whether it's a planning application or planning comment. However, email addresses and phone numbers are often redacted. So that helps.
Councillor?
Thank you, Revimo, and 100% agree. We don't need to have them on the agenda, but we need to verify that they're a real person. That's my biggest thing, and I think that should be put in the hopper as you stated. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? So I have a quick question. Is there the ability to put in this policy and also into practice? When I send an email out, I think the corporation has to know it. So is there or any one of us, is there an email address that we can send it to so it becomes a record so that 3 years from now, if I've moved to Florida, which I doubt, but maybe Barcelona, to somewhere warm, but so that the municipality has a record and they don't have to say to me, do you still have your old laptop? Because I think that's been a major flaw for us, and so I'm just curious if there's a means of doing that.
Through you, Reeve. To answer that question, so again, a couple different ways. What we're trying to encourage is that if there's correspondence with regards to a complaint or concern, I will continue to recommend and encourage that the information go through Access E11. When we notice that the correspondence has not gone through that process, we will automatically input it and we will save that document. So we're trying to catch that, but I would say that's a good practice for all of council. If you've received a complaint from the public or you're responding to a complaint from the public, then make sure that it is noted to the clerk's department, and we can help assist in that process, or direct the resident or person making the complaint to file it directly through Access E11, because then we can make sure that the complaint is followed through and addressed. So, potholes or all of those fun things. But again, for the record part is we do have a clerks@renfrew.ca email, which certainly can always be CC'd on. That does go to our department. Myself, if you're CCing for record, again, anything that's CC'd to me, I try to retain as the record of it, and as the record keeper of the organization, that's also the best way. So.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you, Council, and thank you, Clerk. And we move to E7. Whoops, I'm sorry, we don't. We move to E6.4. The Committee of the Whole recommends that Renfrew Town Council confirm member attendance at priority 2026 conferences, and further, the council directs staff to complete conference registrations and delegation requests as identified. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, second Councillor Legree, and I'll turn it over to Clerk Arrett.
There we go. Okay, through you, Reeve. The regular meeting of council held on March 25th, 2025, Renfrew Town Council adopted bylaw 25-2025, which is the bylaw to establish remuneration for members of council of the corporation in the town of Renfrew. This new remuneration bylaw incorporated some recommended changes from council, and among several of the amendments, council had recommended at that time the inclusion of a pre-planned approach to conference attendance. This approach aims to ensure consistent representation at the priority annual conferences within the municipal sector, while also avoiding quorum unless special circumstances arise and approved by council. The following conferences were identified as the most suitable for council members' attendance, and they are, so the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, which is the Roma Conference, held in January, Good Roads, so the Ontario Good Roads Association conference that's held in kind of March, start of April, the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities Conference, which is held end of April, early May, AMO, which is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, which is held in August, and the ECMC, which is the Ontario East Municipal Conference, which is held in September, mid-September. So in preparation for the budget, council was circulated an email requesting the identification of the preferred priority conferences with a response deadline of August 27, 2025. This would ensure both timely planning ahead of conference registration dates, as well as pre-planning for the budget. By August 27th deadline, we had received three requests for Roma, one request for the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities, and two for the Good Roads. Registration then opened for the 2026 Roma Conference on September 26th. I will note that was a Saturday and very tricky, but staff acted promptly to secure on-site hotel rooms for the three members that had requested attendance, and information was circulated to council. Upon that circulation, we did receive another request from another member of council who is wishing to attend, and since three are already registered, I've now come back to council requesting basically council's direction on what they would like to do. A fourth attendee would result in quorum, which it's up to council at this point as to decision on next steps forward.
Thank you. Councillor Legree, please.
Through you, Reeve. So I personally don't see an issue with 4 people attending, even though there is quorum there, because other than delegations, we all go to different meetings and stuff, so we're not really together. We might get together for supper or something at night, but business is not being advanced. So I don't think it's a problem, personally. I think as long as the councillor has the funds in his account, or you can transfer from another councillor if somebody else is not going and not using the money, then I don't see it's a problem. So I'm okay, and I would move option 3. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andrew Dick, please.
Thank you, Emo. And I think it should be noted that even our IC, is that the right word, our Integrity Commissioner, he has said on multiple occasions to us, just because there's 4 of you together, it's not wrong, and you're allowed to do it. We're not allowed to discuss business. And last year, there was, I believe, 4 of us there, and not once were the 4 of us together. I can't remember there was 5 of us or 4 of us. It doesn't matter. We were never once together, so I don't see an issue in it either. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McWhirter?
I agree with Councillor Dick. The first year we went to Roma, there was, actually, I believe, Reeve, you were there, the mayor was there, Councillor Dick, myself, with the CAO, and not once did we even get together for supper or lunch, so there was no opportunity to advance anything, so I don't really have a problem with it.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve, through you to the clerk. Do we have anything set in place if someone books, let's say AMO, they book to go to AMO, they can't make it for whatever reasons, they're sick, or do we have someone that can parachute, or do we have a policy or procedure where we can parachute someone in if it's already paid for? So do we have anything along those lines?
Clerk?
Thank you, and through you. I would say that we've had incidents in the past where if we've known there is an absence or an unscheduled absence, we've put it back out to council for anybody who's interested in attending. Ultimately, at the end of the day, yes, if hotel rooms are booked or conference registrations are already established. I would say registrations don't often get transferred very well, short of extreme circumstances, but hotel rooms, especially now because they often are booking the hotel rooms without cancellation fees, with strong cancellation fees because of how often these hotel rooms get booked out. With that, again, we've always put it out to council, and if council is able to go and they have money already allocated or still allocated within their budgets, or they can borrow from another council member, then it hasn't been an issue.
I can also add that informally, I have a network, and so we pass it out if there's one, and other municipalities will purchase it from us, at cost. So they'll purchase the room, and we've been able to manipulate the registration at times. The only time we can't do is during a voting year, so we've been able to do some things with that as well through contacts that we have with Roma and AMO. So we can act if we get enough notice to save the municipality money, but we can't always guarantee it. So what I would suggest to you is I prefer option 3 as well, and I will undertake, if we have delegations, to make sure that I'm not the 4th person in the room, but if somebody can't make it, then I would sub in as part of the delegation. So I think informally we should be able to organize it so there's only 3 people in the room for a delegation instead of 4. I think if that's... Oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that?
Can I just note something on that?
Yeah, go ahead and note it. Sorry, I thought if we just sort of sat down like adults.
Through you, Reeve, and sorry not to cut you off. I would like to note that I didn't have you counted as attending because you were attending on behalf of the county. Perfect. So in fact, we have 5. We would have 5, just in full transparency.
Okay, but we are able to just informally make sure that we're not gathering as part of, okay. So I think if we undertake to informally ensure that, yes, Councillor Andrew Dick?
So, Reeve Emo, and respectfully going to disagree with you because the first year we were there was 4 of us in the room at delegations. Yeah. And we're just like, it was our first year, Councillor McWhirter and I, and we kind of just sat there. Yeah. We're not discussing business. The mayor at that time, or you at one time, and then CO Tremblay at another time, they just give a presentation. We're not furthering business, so I think we're okay.
Yes.
Because there's how many other municipalities there with how many other councillors in the rooms?
Sure. Okay. I'm not opposed to everybody showing up. Yeah.
We got this.
CEO, are you okay? You're not, okay, I thought I saw your pen go up. Get a little twitchy up here, looking around. Okay, so with that, we're suggesting option 3. Any further comments? With that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? None? It's carried. Thank you. Good, healthy debate. I appreciate it. I don't mind being corrected when I'm wrong or going in the wrong direction, and it's done politely. I'm quite content with that. It can only be done once a year, though. So with that, we'll move to the Committee of the Whole directs staff to prepare a draft council communications plan to a meeting in November 2025. CEO Raybone, please. Oh, God, yes. Sorry, it is getting late, isn't it? With that, could I have a mover? Councillor McDonald, second. Councillor Legree. CEO Raybone. Thanks for that reminder.
So my report is in front of you. The report does identify several pieces of legislation that identifies specific disclosure that must occur to council from staff. And so I've kind of broken down the 3 types that do occur throughout the year. You have the proactive ones, which are just automatically provided, typically your annual budgets, your development charge reserve funds, conflict of interest registries, your minutes, etc. You do have reactive disclosure, which is permitted under legislation, often the departmental updates, staff reports and policy changes, requested information council may have for specific decisions they want to make. And then there's also restricted disclosure. So this is the information that is generally protected under closed meeting protocols or other confidentiality rules that need to be managed under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, or MFIPA. So following best practices, which is typically what we have been following here, certain things come on a regular basis, either annually or quarterly. Other items come upon request. Upon a meeting in September, it was identified that council would like to maybe formalize exactly what information is coming to them. And so I reached out and found an example of a council communications plan from Southwest Middlesex, which has been attached as a reference point. And then there's also a less formal one where it's more just a chart on just a reporting schedule, and just curious as to which direction council would like us to go in order to formalize the types of information and how often they are being brought to council.
So let me preface this by thanking you first for your patience while we tried to sort out what communication means. So this isn't meant to limit information. It's not meant to stonewall you. What is meant is to try and give some guidelines so everybody knows what they're talking about. So if you want to take a look at the 2 documents, and maybe they're not the ones, maybe portions of them are, maybe. So this is meant to start a discussion with council to try and sort it out. The CEO and I have had a number of conversations about what we each think, and I'm coming at it as a member of council, and she's coming at it as her job, rightfully, as CAO. And so, any comments are welcome tonight, or if you want to take it away and chew it up, go right ahead. So, please. Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Reeve, Emo, and through you. So just a general comment about communication between staff and council. We have all the directors here, minus Chief Guest, and I think I did have this conversation with Chief Guest one day just off the cuff. I think what's important to me, and I can't speak for the other councillors, I think what's really important to me, if staff are talking about something around the water cooler that's a big impact in the town, then we should know that communication. Because if they're talking about it at the water cooler, it's not confidential, it's not private, but it's a big decision or something big that's coming to town or something that's happening. Well, if they're talking about it at the water cooler, within 2 hours, it's not confidential, it's going to make its way on the street. And then it's going to make its way on social media, then we're going to get the phone calls, and yet we have no idea what's going on. So I think, I don't need to, again, this is just me. This isn't other councillors' thoughts. This is me. I don't need to know that you're buying a ton of sand or, you're buying books for the library, or you're buying a new garbage bin for the, but if you're taking away, if you're closing public parks and you're talking about that at the water cooler, we need to know that, because that's going to impact us. If we're taking a fire truck out of service because there's 4 flat tires and we can't get the new tires, and chief guest is talking about that at the water cooler, we need to know that. I think that's the stuff. Like, I'll give another example. People on the street knew there was a Shoppers Drug Mart coming to Renfrew, and I had no idea that we were getting a Shoppers Drug Mart. But everybody was calling me and saying, hey, I hear we're getting a Shoppers Drug Mart. And I did not know what to say to them. And I'm not putting any blame on anybody, because we've had policies in place for many, many years. I'm just saying, if it's water you're talking at the water cooler, I think a quick email to council should be like, hey, just want to let you know this is coming down the pipe in case anybody asks. Just my thoughts. I'm not upset at anybody. I just wanted to, my feelings on the subject. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else? So we've heard a little bit of discussion on it. We tried to formalize it a little bit, so we'll try, we'll take it back and see, we'll come back with something else, recognizing there's those timely bits of, I guess I'll call it unofficial communication, that we'll have to maybe iron out somehow, but then there should be some expected communication as well. Sorry, Councillor McWhorter, I stepped all over you.
That's fine. Just I guess the question or comment. So this is to do with communication. Is any part of this changed in view of the strong mayor powers? Because obviously we're not getting all the communication that the mayor is. A good example was the sweeper. He has information. We're doing a budget. He's away, so we can't even access that information or ask him for it. So clearly there's no transparency there with everything going on. Is that reflected in this, or is there a policy that needs to be changed to reflect strong mayor powers? Because obviously that's changed the whole game since that all came about. Should we be looking at this, whether we want to or not, to incorporate some of the changes that have been made with the strong mayor powers?
Thank you, the CIO. I was hoping nobody would mention that tonight. We had a chance. I thought about it this morning when I read it at 5:30 and went, oh God, I don't have an answer. CIO, please.
So through you, Reeve, I know that we are looking at preparing a standard procedures document of how the strong mayor processes happen, so that everybody is understanding of what the processes are, how the information flows. That's something that the clerk has been working on. A neighboring municipality has created one, or specifically in relation to budget, but we're looking on a more broad one on all aspects that would be shared with council, put on our website, so that everybody would understand. Right now, we don't have a formal staff council communications policy. We follow basically industry standards, which is basically, as the situation arises, we determine whether it's something that should or shouldn't be shared. So this was, right now, the ones in here are just examples of what, how formalized you could go with a full set plan versus just a set schedule, which will be simpler, however, may not necessarily always capture every type of communication that occurs. If we prepare something formalized, we could probably put in some information on how the strong mayor pieces are shared, keeping in mind what the legislation says around it. But we are currently working on a separate document specific on what the processes and procedures are around strong mayor matters, which I'm not sure exactly when it, probably end of November, maybe into December or January. I'm not sure what our where we are in it at the moment. But it is something we are working on with a neighboring one.
So my guess is strong mayor has caused as much agitation and stress with staff as it has with council, but I don't know that for sure. Please.
So I understand there's, with the strong mayor powers and the legislation that's down, so I'm not throwing any disparage against any of the staff, because you're just following the rules and regulations that are put out, whether I agree with them or not, and trust me, I don't. But so much for transparency with that type of situation. But I'm wondering if we could, is this motion we're making tonight just to do with the name changes of personnel, and that's it, or should we defer this and have further discussion about if you guys come down with, or staff come up with a new policy? Should we just defer this and do it all at the same time?
So through you, Reeve, the purpose of this is for direction of whether I bring back a draft full comprehensive plan similar to Southwest Middlesex, or whether I go the more simpler route of just a chart schedule with types of information and kind of how often they are shared. So right now I'm seeking direction as to how formalized does council want to see this so that I can work on a correct draft. If it's the simple schedule, that can be done sooner than a full robust plan, as there's obviously less involved in it. But if council's looking to have more of a full, formal, robust plan that includes items about strong mayors that might meet the legislative items, but detail out, that might be something that's easier to do in a plan where you can make sure your wording meets legislation, but also shows council's desire for how information should be flowing. I just need direction before I spend time on which draft to work on for council.
Can we make that, or is that part of this motion, or can we make it part of this motion that you do that, like staff go ahead and put together something for us for consideration down the road?
Yeah.
Because it would set a guideline for both staff and for council. Like, instead of a council member saying, hey, why did you give that to the mayor, and whatever, and when we should have had it, there is none of that, because it would clearly lay out the rules and regulations. Because as we all know, this strong mayor power thing is a gray area. Even the integrity officer told us that it's so new, there's no real hard, fast regulations with it. It changes daily, so based on challenges and whatnot. So is there any way we can either ask for that now and make it part of the motion, or and do something like that?
Yeah. So through you, Reeve, so yeah, the intent of the proposed resolution, or sorry, proposed motion is to direct me to prepare a draft plan, which is the more comprehensive version, and you could amend the policy to say, and further, that it include the strong mayor communication processes, and then that would give me enough direction to make sure I include those pieces when I'm pulling up my initial draft. So that is the intent right now. I am suggesting that you probably want something closer to a full plan, so we could include pieces like that to help identify these items, which are a little harder to say in just one or two words in a chart. So that would be my recommendation, if you're interested in that someone put forward a motion to amend this to include and further that strong mayor information be included in the plan. Or strong mayor communication processes be included in the plan, and then that would be part of then this motion.
I would put forward that motion, and I see Clerk Eric just busy typing, and I'm sure she's way ahead of me.
So that's the amendment, okay?
If my fellow councillors are all right with that.
So is someone going to second that? The amendment being go forward and add in the strong mayor communication. Yeah, that's what I'm asking for. Oh, I'm sorry, a seconder, okay. So you have the amended motion, and if you could just go ahead and read that if you don't mind, so council knows what they're discussing. I know what they're discussing.
Through you, Reeve, that the committee of the whole directs staff to prepare a draft a council communication plan. Okay, sorry. That this one right now is the amendment one, sorry. That the motion be amended, so that the motion above, what I just stated, be amended to add, and further that staff be directed to include strong mayor communication process in the plan. Sorry, that's what happens when you type and listen at the same time.
Strong mayor communication process.
Okay, sorry. That the motion be amended to add, and further that staff be directed to include in in strong mayor communication process.
Thank you. Does that capture what we think we want? Okay, so Councillor McDonald. Okay.
Thank you, Reeve, through you. Regarding the communications, and I guess to the CEO, can you confirm with the strong mayor power, could he provide guidance that all the information he gets, just to give it to the council? Is that an option for him?
CAO?
Through you, Reeve, right now he has given us direction that after the reports have gone to him that they were to always be shared unless otherwise stated, which is why every mayoral decision always includes that extra clause that the report be shared with council. So that can be something that could be formalized in some way in here. However, obviously, if there's ever a change in the desire by whoever's in the mayor position on how that changes, there's not a lot that we can do other than include in council and staff's desire into this type of plan as to how it would be most transparent, which at the moment the mayor has said that once the reports go to him, they're to be then shared with council, which is what we have been doing. It's just we can't always guarantee what future decisions may or may not include.
Okay, any further comments? Councillor Legree, then Councillor Sobalski.
Through you, Reeve Emo. So just so I'm clear, there's a separate policy coming on staff and council communication, or is this all in this one?
So that would be this one. So this policy will include all the types of communication and how often they would occur between council and staff. And the request was to also include strong mayor information pieces to it. As long as this amendment gets approved, then the new motion would be the amended motion for voting after.
So I guess my question is, so a director can, if say we're closing a park, and I'll use Director Latondras, if she's closing a park, she can physically send an email to council stating, like any director can send an email to council saying that they're closing a park, or there's no restrictions or nothing on, because I think there's I don't know, I just feel that there's some confusion on who's given us as council the information. So, or if Mike Guest has to close something because of emergency or something, like, do they have to, like, how does that come to us? Because I agree with Councillor Dick, we've missed out on some stuff that's hit social media in the past. I'm not blaming anybody, it is what it is, but going forward, we look really stupid when people start phoning us and emailing us and we have no idea what's happening and they're telling us, like, so I'm just wondering how that process works and how it applies to this.
So through you, Reeve, the informal process at the moment, which is all we have, is that if it's something that's of an immediate need or something such as we have to close a road immediately because of something massive going on, or we need, or some sort of a state of emergency or something's happening, then those go straight from directors and I'm CC'd on the information, so that way I am aware of also at the same time of what's going on, because sometimes they might be on the phone with me while they're messaging out to council. Anything where it's something that's not likely to be public right away, then they would usually send it to me if I'm available before it would go out. And we would have a discussion of whether, yes, send that and just CC me, or they'll give me a call, or whether I send it out, depending on the type of information, such as we talked earlier about the 3 budget items. That was something I felt was best to come from me than coming from the director. So right now we have kind of an informal process, and whatever plan is drafted, I would be looking at formalizing what should just go straight from the directors, what should come from the CAO, how those processes work. It would be formalized within this plan.
Thank you, Councillor Sobalski.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. Just been listening, gathering, and still hinging off of Councillor Dick's comments. It's the small stuff that I think hurts us. The formal idea of the 3 errors that give us a huge deficit in the budget, that's a proper email. It was sent right, and I think we all agree that that was done properly. But it's, like I say, it's going to come down to the quality of our leader. and the way that they interact with staff. So with the opportunity with Reeve Emo stepping in, I'm anticipating, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there will be, I hope, weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings with the CAO and potentially other directors, and that's where I'm expecting my flow of information to come from. I genuinely want my leader, my mayor, or my Reeve in this instance, to give me the information of what's being talked about at the water cooler. So if it's a Shoppers Drug Mart that's inches away from being signed, that information flows through, and it's an exciting email from the mayor or the Reeve at this case. That's what my expectations are for us getting these missing details. I don't think it needs to be formalized to a way to harden it into an email, what gets sent from who and at what timeline. I think that heavy information comes through to us fairly well, but it's the small ideas, it's the small things to the park. The email goes out to the CAO, like we're going to have to close a park at the end of the week, the review didn't come in very good. That should be reflected to the mayor, and that email should be sent to us through the mayor. That's what I'm expecting. And it's going to come down to leadership. It's going to come down to who sits in the chair from every 4-year segment. So that's up to everyone else to figure out, right? Anyways, there's my 2 thoughts on that.
Thank you. And Councillor Andrew Dick, please.
Thank you, Reeve Emo, and through you. I want to jump on the coattails of what Councillor Sobalski just said. I think over the years, the last couple of years, this council, all of us have been at times pretty hard on the staff because communication has not been there. And you hit some stuff there. I think staff thought the communication may be coming through us through other avenues, and they never were. And I think we're all learning this in the last couple months. And with you in the helm now, I agree, water cool talk should come from you, from the head of our table. It really shouldn't come from the staff unless they feel it should. And so I'm excited about the next few weeks to see if we're going to get that communication. And yeah, I just wanted to 100% agree.
So I am committed to giving you more information formally and informally, and I will state that I trust you. Should I give you something that says you can't talk about this till December 1st, that you'll keep it under wraps but know about it, so if somebody does approach you. So yes, I will commit to doing what I think I will commit to performing the role as I see fit, and I think it evolves with more communication and my expression of trust in you with that communication. So you'll get more as I get it. Okay, thank you. And so with that, can I call the vote on the amendment? All those in favor? And on the original motion? Sorry, this now amended. All those in favor? Thank you. And now we'll move to policy that Committee of the Whole recommends that Renfrew Town Council approve the suggested amendments to the full-time and detention policy, and further that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Mover, please. Councillor Legree, second by Councillor McDonald, and CEO Ray Bowen, please.
So my report is in front of you. This is another one of our policies that was scheduled for 2025 for review to ensure that it is up to date and still appropriate. The only recommended changes were mostly administrative in nature, changes of the legal names of legislation and the personnel changes over the last couple of years. There's been no other changes at this time that I see are necessary, though if council would like us to add or remove something, this would be the time for council to direct us to do so.
Council, you've seen the policy. Any suggestions? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you very much. And now I would ask that Renfrew Town Council rise from the Committee of the Whole. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, second Councillor Sobalski. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. I'm going to do a very quick run through here of the county report. Page 3, if you look at the bullet, it talks about resilience. And then the third bullet, and my computer went dead, so I'm on the MOU between Arnprior Regional Hospital which was known as the previous Grove Building, and the County of Renfrew to develop a senior transitional housing. The expectation is there could be between 58 and 60 beds in there. And the bullet on OVTA, the annual general meeting, and that's on page 5, is on November 3rd. And number 6 is the positive sentiment for visitors to the County of Renfrew. 73.9% of the visitors are Canadian, 26.1% are from Germany, and the UK and France follow in US. Page 4, the net operating budget guidelines is not to rise above 3%, and the CVA, current value assessment, goes into the growth reserve. Page 5, HPP, $3.5 million has been given to us by the ministry, and you'll note also on page 5 that we're adding one more nurse practitioner to the paramedics, so that'll help out with the RCV TAC and the community paramedicine. So again, developing more primary care options for our communities. And the next one I would just briefly mention is the Renfrew County District Health Unit. 120 contacts for measles in July. Ontario, 73%, when you do the numbers, are infant, children, and adolescents. 96% are unvaccinated for measles. COVID, it's lower than this time last year. 42 school bases or school visits will be conducted this school year for immunization. And rabies, it's starting to be a concern, and that 64 bat-initiated exposures occurred, and 36 animals were submitted for testing. Of those 36 animals, 22 were bats with one positive case of rabies, where the person had to take a full course of the medication, which I've heard is very unpleasant. The Warden Service Awards, I'll be announcing those at the end of November, I believe, so you still have time to put names in. And that is all I have to offer. Renfrew Power Generation, I believe you and I had a conversation. Go ahead, please. Oh, Councillor Legree, yeah.
No, you're good. That's right. Through you, Reeve Emo. So I said on Renfrew Power Generation with Councillor Andrew Dick. So this report's for Q3, which is July 1st to September 30th. And I'll just briefly highlight a few things. So, generation for Q3 was below target, with lots of dry spells throughout that period. Contributed to low flows, which we used to produce the energy for that quarter. So we were down there. There were several outages related to a communications line in August and September, which Bell did eventually fix. And the annual drawdowns of the lakes started, and it commenced with Round Lake, which is usually the first one to go, which was on September 7th. Renfrew Power Generation hired a contractor to repair the sill at Spillgate number 2 in July. And the only other thing I'll note is that ongoing negotiations with the Minister of Energy still ongoing with the contract that's expiring for Renfrew Power Generation at the end of 2029. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Legree or Councillor Andrew Dick? Seeing none, then we'll move to F.6, which is that Renfrew Town Council directs staff to prepare a comprehensive report outlining the generators currently in use for the town of Renfrew's infrastructure, specifically at the Renfrew Town Hall and the MyFM Centre, including their current condition, suitability for each facility, and any recommended needs or upgrades. Mover, please. Councillor McWhirter, second by Councillor Sobalski. Discussion? Councillor McWhirter.
Just a quick word. I sit on that committee. We had a pretty good discussion about the equipment needed. Though the one here actually looks after the fire hall at the same time, so it's critical. And the one at the new Mattaway Center, FM Center, is may be under what we need for there. So it was brought up and asked for discussion to look into, since MyFM is an evacuation station, so it's really important to have the right equipment in the right place.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. G, I already mentioned what I was going to talk about. You dragged it out of me when I was the villain. So H.1, is there anybody that wants to speak to the municipal correspondence from Bonfield with regards to Canada Post and the labor dispute? H2, the correspondence from the town of Aurora with resulting in Elect Respect campaign support. H3, Municipality of St. Charles, NORD's pilot program, and H4, Township of Horton Highway 17 twinning. So, Councillor Legree.
Through you, Emo, just with H4, the twinning of Highway 17, I'm just trying to remember, did we do a letter to MPP to know, or can we do that? I think the highway is we need to get a push on that. We've seen in the last couple of weeks there's been multiple accidents on it. It's a very well-traveled highway, so just maybe you can refresh my memory, and if we haven't, can we?
Okay, thank you. And CAO, please.
So through you, Reeve, although there hasn't been a letter recently on that to the MPP, I have met with the MPP in early September along with the mayor to go over several topics. I believe there was 5 or 6 items of importance to the town, and we had approximately an hour to go over many things, and the twinning of the highway was the first topic that did take up the bulk of our time. So although we haven't done a letter recently, and we can definitely do one, there has been a face-to-face conversation with the MPP on that matter as well.
What I could suggest, if council wishes, is the CAO and I could sit down and pool the information we have and write him a letter to confirm what we think we understand is happening and ask for an update on the progress, if that meets council's needs. Okay, I think... Could we have a motion authorizing the CEO and I to write a letter to the MPP and the minister? You're suggesting that?
Yeah, I'll put the motion forward.
Perfect. And a seconder? Councillor McWhirter, any discussion? And we'll share the letter once it's done. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, that Renfrew Town Council confirmed the minutes of the regular meetings of council dated September 23rd times 2, the special meetings of council dated September 23rd and October 29th, 2025. The second September 23rd, is that accurate? Yeah. Okay. Because that seems like a long time ago, so I can't remember. And the closed meeting minutes of September 23rd and October 9th, understanding that they remain confidential. Discussion, mover? Councillor Andrew Dick, second by Councillor McWhirter. Discussion now. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. I'm also flying blind here because I lost my computer, so normally I would have flipped through and make sure the dates were the right ones, but I apologize for that. Brought the wrong cord. That Renfrew Town Council adopt the final resolutions considered in committee of the whole at both the meetings of council held on September 23rd, 2025. That Renfrew Town Council directs staff to proceed with a medical GPS cellular wireless communication station in the McGurman Holdings Fitness Center. That Renfrew Town Council approve a community improvement plan grant and direct staff to prepare a financial incentive program agreement with Nick Potvin in relation to a transferable tax increment equivalent grant for the property located at 142 Raglan Street South, having roll number 4748000055-11400 on a decreasing scale starting at 90% of the annual municipal tax increment in year 1 and declining annually by 10% until reaching 0% in year 10, for an estimated total grant value of $19,997.41, with the actual grant value to be based on the approved future year tax rates. That Renfrew Town Council adopt the revised downtown seasonal encroachment guidelines and pass the implementing bylaw. The Renfrew Town Council endorse Aqua's operational plan authorizing the Reeve in the capacity of acting mayor during the mayor's temporary leave, together with the CEO, to sign the owner endorsement. The Renfrew Town Council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign the Product Care Association of Canada Municipal Hazardous and Special Products Materials Services Agreement. The Renfrew Town Council approved the suggestion amendments to the alternative working arrangement policy, and further that the appropriate bylaw is brought forward. The Renfrew Town Council directs staff on option 2, postpone any demolition work at the site, directing staff to conduct regular site inspections to be defined to ensure the external fencing, signage, and building remains secure regarding the old wastewater treatment plant. The Renfrew Town Council establish a property standards working group and provide the proposed terms of reference as presented, and approve the proposed terms of reference as presented, with direction to staff to bring forward the corresponding bylaw for adoption. The Renfrew Town Council approved the recommended appointment of a new business sector representative and adopt an amending bylaw to remove the 2 non-participating members and formally appoint the new member. So I recognize I'm going to need a mover and seconder before we have any discussion about removing these out individually. So can I have a mover? Councillor Legree, second by Councillor Andrew Dick. So now I'm assuming, sir.
Thank you. We need to move number 3.
Okay.
I can't vote on that one.
So vote on that one separately. All right. Thank you.
And then the others, I'm fine. Thank you, Reeve.
Okay. Thank you. So with that, Council, is there any further comments on any of the other ones, with the exception of item number 3? So I'm going to ask that everybody in favor, with the exception of item number 3, vote right now. All those in favor? Those opposed? I see 0. So with that, all the items 1 through to 10, with the exception of 3, are passed. Thank you very much. So item number 3, can I get a mover just to put it on the table, and a seconder? Mover, I'm sorry, did I do, oh, I'm doing it properly? Yep. Good, okay. Councillor Legree's getting twitchy. So with that, mover for item number 3, please. Councillor Legree, second by Councillor McDonald. Discussion, please. Item number 3.
Before discussion, can I have...
Sorry. Yes,
Before
please.
discussion, can I have one item of clarity for procedural? Is Councillor Dick declaring interest or just not voting?
Reeve Emo, I declared last meeting regarding this, and
okay,
I filled out the paperwork and signed it.
So
I didn't think I had to do it again.
You will.
Then I have to do it again. So I'm declaring for a possible pecuniary interest in the future.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so yes, you wouldn't have had a pecuniary interest to have it discussed individually. Good. Okay, thank you. So we have a conversation on item number 3. Okay, so if there's no conversation, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? It's 1. And Councillor Dick correctly called, I can't say that, Councillor Dick removed himself. So the motion is passed. Thank you, Council. J2, the Renfrew Town Council adopt the final resolutions considered in Committee of the Whole on October 21. E.1.3, that Renfrew Town Council authorize staff to proceed with an award of the replacement of the garage roof at the Municipal Garage to We Got It Covered Roofing and Renovations in the amount of $157,000, excluding HST. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Legree, second by Councillor Stabalski. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you, Council. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor McDonald.
Reeve, for the information of the clerk, I voted for that previous one, and I need to declare a pecuniary interest with regard to what Councillor Dick did.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just noting that right now. Thank you.
Okay, so that's still left at 3-1. Okay, so yeah, we're fine. Good. So yes, you can declare afterwards. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. So this one has passed. J2. Okay. And so that the bylaws listed on the agenda of August 21 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. 85-2025, award Mattaway Park Power Supplies Phase 1 project to KU Power Group. 86-2025, execute a municipally hazardous and special products material service agreement with Product Care Association of Canada, PCA. 87-2025, adopt a revised alternative voting arrangement policy. 88-2025, adopt a revised downtown seasonal encroachment guidelines policy. 89-2025, amending appointment of business members to the Economic Development Advisory Committee. 90-2025, establish and approve terms of reference for the Property Standards Bylaw Working Group. 91-2025, execute a recreation services agreement with the Township of Greater Madawaska. 92-2025, execute a financial services agreement with the South Ottawa Valley OPP Detachment Board. I have a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Legree, seconded by Councillor McDonald. So you've heard the motion and all the bylaws. I'm sorry, CAO, please.
Just for clarity, with reading so many of them, bylaw 87-2025 for the public is to adopt and revise an alternative working arrangement policy, not alternative voting
I'm
policy.
sorry.
Just for clarity for those watching online.
Sorry, my apologies. Any further discussion or clarification? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And again, my apology. I don't know how I got that association mixed up. Motions of notice, of which notice has previously been given. Councillor Andrew Dick, partnership with Renfrew County Voices for Accessible Line Painting. That the Town of Renfrew partner with the Renfrew County Voices to allow volunteers from the organization to assist in painting accessible parking spaces fully blue in municipal parking lots only, excluding street parking, and that this initiative be considered as part of the 2026 Budget Committee discussions. I'm guessing you want to move that, sir? Thank you. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Legree. And discussion. Councillor Andrew Dick, please.
Thank you, Reeve. And very quickly, I just think this is a really good partnership with the community, and we have people who want to have the accessible parking lots painted all blue, so why not get together with them, and hopefully this will go on the budget, and hopefully we can afford to do it. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor McWhirter, please.
Two questions. Any estimate on the cost? I don't imagine it'd be too much of his paint. And if staff have any issues with this happening?
Okay, thank you. Councillor
Reeve, and through you, I think that's what this whole thing's about, for staff to come back and give us a report on cost and all that stuff, I'm pretty sure. Be considered, yeah. An initiative be considered as part of the 2026 budget. So it's not in stone, it's just to be considered, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Legree, please.
Through you, Reeve, just for clarification then for me. So we're already buying the paint, are we not? They're just painting it, or am I?
From my understanding, Reeve, through you, from my understanding, nothing has been locked in stone. We're starting the process right now. And if it's approved, we just want the voices of the community, Renfrew County Voices, to be part of this process. So it might not even get approved in the budget. It might be too much money, and we might say, nope, too much money. It might not be, and we might say, yes, let's go forward.
Okay.
But hopefully staff can come back with a good report on this.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve. Just one. That council direct staff to include on the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, the 25th of November, 2025, a closed session item for the purpose of providing CAO Gloria Raybone the opportunity to inform and provide to council the full information, documentation, and rationale that was provided to the Mayor, Tom Sidney, that was utilized in the decision-making to postpone the 9th of September 2025 regular council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And to my knowledge of the procedural bylaw, that's not up for discussion. We just record it and move forward. Is that how I remember it?
Yes, it's just a verbal notice of motion, and it'll come on the table at the October 28th meeting for discussion.
Great, thank you. And you have a notice of motion too, sir? Okay, thank you.
Through you, Reeve, and maybe Clerk Eric can help me here. I'm not sure if this is a notice or motion or what it is, but I would like to, and I know we're a little bit early, but I'd like to discuss the flowers and shrubs on the main street. They do a great job, but at some of the intersections I'm getting complaints, and I see it too, where you're, like if you're coming out in Upiongo onto the main street, you can't see down. So I don't know if that's just an email or do I have to, I'm not sure what to do with it. I just want to see if there's something.
So can I suggest, it's because they're too high?
Yeah, and there's
Okay.
a few intersections. There's quite a few residents that brought it to my attention, and I agree with them.
So Director Bishop, is that your area? So you've heard us? Sorry? Please, we'll go this way and then that way.
If this is a verbal notice of motion, it'll be put on the agenda for next week. If it's a concern, maybe it could be circulated to staff to address. But if it is a verbal notice of motion, then the discussion will happen next week.
No, it's, no, I'm just going to circulate it to staff. Thank you.
So my impression is it's a two-layered concern. The one layer is this year, and the next year may be planned so that the plants aren't as high. The perfect concern you have, sir. I'm so glad you shared it with us. Thank you. Okay. I believe we have any other notice of motions. Okay, seeing none, sorry. Confirmatory bylaw 93-2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation Town of Renfrew at the special meeting of October 9, 2025 and the regular meeting of October 21, 2025, that Renfrew Town Council adopt the confirmatory bylaw for 93-2025 and that it be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Mover, please. Councillor Legree, second by Councillor Sobolski. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? None is carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Regular council meeting is Tuesday, October 28, 2025 at 5:30, and it includes a fees and charges public meeting and zoning application public meeting. I think I'm sick that night. Economic Development Advisory Committee, Wednesday, November 12, 2025 at 10 a.m. I'm sorry?
Hi.
So prior to adjournment, thank you for your patience as we sort of figure some things out. Staff have been very clear with me. They want to reset the relationship with council. In talking to council, I think you've all indicated a desire to figure this out because we've got quite a journey ahead of us together. And so we will try to improve communication. I'm always open, and the CEO is always open to try and make things different. I wouldn't say better, because I think they're perfect now, but no, I think we do need to have some adjustment. So I would ask for your patience a little longer as we sort some of this stuff out and we cement in how we want to interact going forward. But thank you. I really appreciate your patience tonight in the 4 hours where we've sort of hashed some things out and I think have demonstrated a maturity that we often know we've had, but I think it's important to demonstrate to the community. So thank you for that. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:07 p.m. Thank you.